Chapter 4463. This was a tragedy. And it was a tragedy that Dong Daqian had personally caused. If it weren't for him stopping Ji Xiaowu's parents, how could this have happened? But at this moment, not only did he not reflect on himself, but he also pushed all the blame to Ji Daxiong and Ji Xiaowu. He should be looking for psychological comfort. He didn't dare to face it bravely, so he forced the sin on others. Mother, Ji Xiaowu lay in the void, exuding a sense of sadness all over his body. It wasn't easy to enter the city lord mansion and have a chance to see his mother, but in the end, he was greeted with such bad news. Even in his dreams, he wanted to see his mother. But now? Countless days and nights of anticipation had turned into nothing. This kind of direct blow to the heart had far exceeded what he could bear. Sigh. Looking at Ji Xiaowu's appearance, the inner demons and Lu Jiajin couldn't help but sigh. Now. It wasn't that they didn't want to help, but that they couldn't. Because they didn't have the ability to bring people back to life. How long has this happened? Lu Jiajin looked at Dong Daqian and asked. It has been a long time. At that time, Ji Xiaowu was only in his 20s. Dong Daqian lowered his head and said. When I was in my 20s, I had already lost my mother, Ji Xiaowu murmured, looked up and stared at Dong Daqian, roaring, why didn't you tell me earlier? She is my biological mother. I have the right to know all this. She is also my daughter. I have the right to not let you know. Dong Daqian said angrily. Old bastard, I'll kill you. Ji Xiaowu roared hysterically and pounced on Dong Daqian as if he had gone crazy. It was all because of this person that his mother died. Even his father's death had something to do with this person. Because back then, if it weren't for this person who forcibly separated his parents, his father wouldn't have gone to extremes, wouldn't have become so unscrupulous and blinded by greed. If he hadn't separated them, their family of 3 would definitely have lived in seclusion in the mountains and lived a peaceful life together. If all of this was really the case, they naturally wouldn't have met Qin Feiyang and his father and grandfather wouldn't have suffered. Think about it. How wonderful would it be for a family to live together peacefully and without any worries? But Dong Daqian had ruined all of this beautiful scene. What was even worse was Dong Daqian even forced her mother to marry another man. In the end, he was forced to death. As such, Ji Xiaowu's heart was filled with hatred. His grandfather and father had met with misfortune one after another, but he still had hope in his heart because he still had his mother. But now, even his only hope was gone. At this moment, his heart felt as if it had fallen into a bottomless abyss, swallowed by endless darkness. In his eyes, there was only hatred for Dong Daqian. You're courting death. Dong Daqian roared. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he threw a punch at Ji Xiaowu. But at this moment, the inner demons took a step forward and landed behind Ji Xiaowu. They slapped the back of Ji Xiaowu's head, and Ji Xiaowu immediately fainted. Dong Daqian was taken aback and couldn't help but stop. The inner demons frowned and said, he is your biological grandson. You, his grandfather, have become his only family in this world. Are you sure you want to kill him? I will never acknowledge his identity. He will never step into my house. Dong Daqian didn't hesitate at all. His words were full of indifference. You're ruthless. Few people can make me admire you. You're one of them. The inner demons shook his head, rolled up Ji Xiaowu, and turned to walk toward Lu Jiajin. Dong Daqian was surprised. Why did they take Ji Xiaowu away? Besides, weren't they here to recruit members? Why did they leave? The inner demons walked to Lu Jiajin and said with a smile, let's go. Okay. Lu Jiajin nodded lightly and opened a space-time passage. Then the two took Ji Xiaowu into the space-time passage without looking back and disappeared without a trace. This scene made Dong Daqian frown involuntarily. Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian were too calm. He couldn't help but feel flustered. "Patriarch, what are they doing?" A group of guards flew up. "This Ji Xiaowu is really lucky." Dong Daqian came back to his senses and clenched his hands together. His eyes were full of murderous intent. "Lucky?" The group of guards looked at each other. "Can't you see? Ji Xiaowu has already won the sympathy of Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. Maybe in the future, these two will become his backers. At that time, even we will have to be careful." Dong Daqian roared, his eyes gloomy. "Unheard of." The group of guards' pupils shrank. If he really had Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian as his backers, wouldn't Ji Xiaowu be able to do whatever he wanted in the central dynasty? Perhaps even the top 10 families would have to be courteous to him. Because this was the deterrent power of Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian. "Patriarch, why don't we?" A trace of murderous intent flashed in the eyes of one of the guards. Dong Daqian understood. He lowered his head and pondered for a while before shaking his head and saying, "You're not capable enough. Do what you need to do. I will handle this matter myself." The success rate of letting these guards assassinate Ji Xiaowu was not high at all. He had to send a few powerhouses. There couldn't be any mistakes. Kill him in one blow. "I didn't expect that this kid's mother had passed away." Dong Daqian's ability to keep it a secret is really good. If we hadn't appeared today, I'm afraid this kid would still be in the dark. Outside the city. On a mountain. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin looked at the unconscious Ji Xiaowu lying on the ground with mixed emotions. At this moment, the inner demons had an indescribable sense of happiness in his heart. Although he had left the great Qin Empire for many years, from the beginning to the end, there were still people who missed him and cared about him. Compared to Ji Xiaowu, he was much luckier. Lu Jiajin looked at the inner demon suspiciously and asked, "What do you plan to do with him? Didn't I already give him the ultimate inheritance? It's only a matter of time before he rises." But for now, the inner demons frowned. Dong Daqian wouldn't let Ji Xiaowu go so easily. He would definitely find a way to kill him. If he was strangled in the cradle, it would be meaningless no matter how many inheritances he had. "How about this, we incorporate him into the Death God army?" Suddenly, the inner demon's eyes lit up as he looked at Lu Jiajin and said, "Him?" Lu Jiajin was slightly stunned and said hesitantly, "With his current strength, he's not qualified to enter the Death God army." "Who said that one can't enter the Death God army without mastering the will of heaven?" "We'll talk about it later. He's not going to other teams. He's coming to our 10th team. With the two of us here, who dares to say anything?" The inner demons smiled proudly. "That's true." Lu Jiajin nodded, lowered his head and thought for a while. He smiled and said, "How about this, we'll let him be a reserve member first. After he masters the will of heaven, we'll let him enter the Death God army." "Okay. Anyway, as long as he has a status. Whether he's an official member or a reserve member, he's a member of the Death God army." The inner demons nodded. As long as he became a member of the Death God army, Ji Xiaowu's safety would be guaranteed. Qin Feiyang and the others would also be able to avoid a lot of trouble in Green Wind City. In the evening. Green Wind City. A dejected figure lowered his head and silently entered the City Lord mansion. Young City Lord. When a few guards saw this person, they hurriedly surrounded him, their faces full of concern. That's right. This person was Ji Xiaowu. "Young City Lord, why did you only come back now? We were almost worried to death. Why are there so many bloodstains on your body? Did Dong Daqian bully you again?" More guards and maids rushed over. In addition to concern, there was also anger on their faces. Feeling the caring gazes around him, Ji Xiaowu's empty eyes gradually regained their color. Slowly, he raised his head and looked at the crowd. Young city lord, seeing that Ji Xiaowu finally had a reaction, everyone's faces suddenly surged with uncontrollable joy. Thank you for your concern, I'm fine. Ji Xiaowu smiled. Are you really okay? Don't comfort us. A maid said. How could he be fine when he went to Fengyang City? I'm the one who's injured, okay? You should be the ones comforting me. Ji Xiaowu smiled helplessly and said, I'm really fine. It's just a small setback. I'll endure it and get through it. That's good. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Not good, not good. There's news that the young city lord's mother is dead. But suddenly, a shout rang out from outside. Following closely, a guard ran in from the gate of the city lord's mansion in a hurry. What? The young city lord's mother is dead? The crowd, who had just breathed a sigh of relief, suddenly revealed a look of surprise. When the guard who ran in saw Ji Xiaowu, who was surrounded by everyone, his expression froze and he hurriedly said, Young city lord, I didn't do it on purpose. Ji Xiaowu took a deep breath, looked up at the guard, and said with a smile, It's okay, I know, you're also worried about me. Looking at Ji Xiaowu at this moment, the guard was a little confused for a moment. Why was the young city lord so calm now? It didn't look like he had lost a family member at all. Young city lord, is this true? Tell us quickly. Everyone came back to their senses and looked at Ji Xiaowu one after another. Ji Xiaowu smiled at the crowd and nodded. It's true. Whether it was the guard or the maid, when they saw Ji Xiaowu nodding, it was like a bolt from the blue, rumbling in their minds. They knew Ji Xiaowu too well. So when they heard the news, they could all imagine Ji Xiaowu's mood. But now, Ji Xiaowu was as if nothing had happened, and even talked and laughed with them. Could it be that the young city lord had become a little crazy because of excessive grief? Young city lord, if you want to cry, just cry. Everyone comforted him. Why don't you beat me up and vent the grievances and anger in your heart? That way, you'll feel better. Another guard walked up to Ji Xiaowu and said. Looking at the faces that were concerned about him, Ji Xiaowu's cold and lonely heart gradually showed a trace of warmth. Although he had lost his family members one after another, he was not lonely because he still had these family members in front of him. Chapter 44-64. You can beat me as much as you want. I can take it. The guard standing in front of Ji Xiaowu looked like he was ready to die for justice. Ji Xiaowu did not know whether to laugh or cry. It's not your fault. Why should I beat you? Don't worry. I'm really fine. Ji Xiaowu patted the guard's shoulder and turned to leave alone. Young city lord, the guard was very worried. Because Ji Xiaowu was so calm that it was frightening. Don't bother the young city lord. Let him be alone. A maid stopped the guard, shook her head and sighed. The guard who ran in hurriedly said, Actually, our young city lord has profited from a disaster this time. Profited from a disaster? Everyone looked at him in confusion. Yes. I heard that the young city lord has met 2 big shots. The guard nodded. What big shots? Everyone's curiosity was completely aroused. Let me tell you, these 2 big shots, you can't even guess who they are. The guard had a mysterious look on his face. Everyone fell into deep thought when they heard this. One of the maids suddenly said, Could it be that the young city lord has met someone from a direct family? Direct family? Don't joke. These 2 big shots, even the patriarch of the direct family does not dare to be arrogant in front of them. The guard said disdainfully. No way. Even the patriarch of the direct family does not dare to be arrogant in front of them? Could it be Dong Qingyuan, the dragon god, or the Kunpeng? Everyone looked at each other. This was too shocking. No, no, no. Dong Qingyuan, the dragon god, and the Kunpeng do not dare to be arrogant in front of them. The guard shook his head and said with a smile, "You definitely won't be able to guess." A maid frowned and said, "You're not talking about the emperor, are you? How could it be the emperor?" The guard smiled. "It's not the emperor. They can even make Dong Qingyuan, the dragon god, and the Kunpeng afraid, these two people, suddenly." A slightly chubby guard seemed to have thought of something and said in surprise, "Could it be Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng?" "Correct." The guard said with a smile. "What? It really is them." The group of people was extremely shocked. The young city lord actually met these two people? It was hard to believe. According to the news we received, Dong Dakian was trying to kill the young city lord back then. Just as the young city lord was about to die, Lu Yuntian suddenly appeared like a god and saved our young city lord. After that, they even brought the young city lord with them to Fengyang City. The calmness that the young city lord is showing now, I think it might be related to them. The guard was beaming with joy as he spoke, his saliva flying everywhere. It was as if Ji Xiaowu and the inner demons had become sworn brothers. "You mean, they enlightened the young city lord?" asked one of the maids. "Most likely." The guard nodded. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying aura descended upon the city lord mansion. This person was none other than Dong Yuming, the former commander of the 10th Squad. "Where is Ji Xiaowu?" He stood in the air and spoke arrogantly. A group of guards and maids raised their heads and looked at Dong Yuming suspiciously. Not many people knew Dong Yuming, but with the exposure of the Death God Army, everyone now knew the uniform of the Death God Army. Looking at the totem in front of Dong Yuming, they knew that he was a member of the Death God Army. Why would the Death God Army come to find the young city lord? Whoosh! Accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, Ji Xiaowu leaped into the air and landed in front of Dong Yuming. He bowed and said, "Ji Xiaowu greets the lord." Dong Yuming sized Ji Xiaowu up with a trace of contempt in his eyes. How could such an ordinary person catch the eye of Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng? They even asked him to personally deliver the identity token and uniform of the Death God Army. He took out a black command medallion from his bosom. This token was the size of an adult's palm and was completely black. The front of the token was engraved with a sharp sword and the back of the token was engraved with a name. The name was Ji Xiaowu. This is your death token as a probationary member. It is also a symbol of your identity. Keep it well. After saying that, Dong Yuming threw the death token to Ji Xiaowu. Ji Xiaowu took the death token with both hands and held it in his hands with excitement. Although he was only a probationary member, as long as he had a relationship with the Death God Army, even if it was just a little bit, it was enough for him to have a meteoric rise. Dong Yuming took out an yin and yang ring and gave it to Ji Xiaowu. He said faintly, "This is the uniform of the Death God Army. It is enough for you to wear for the rest of your life." "Thank you, Lord." Ji Xiaowu took the yin and yang ring and bowed. "The two commanders also asked me to tell you that although probationary members don't have to go to the Death God Army's base, you can't slack off. Also, if you are summoned, you must report immediately." Dong Yuming said. "I will remember." Ji Xiaowu bowed and said. Dong Yuming waved his hand and a space-time tunnel opened. He then turned and left without looking back. Probationary member? What does that mean? Does the Death God Army have probationary members? I've never heard of it. The group of guards and maids looked at each other. The young city lord had indeed profited from a disaster. He was valued by Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng. From now on, he was not only the city lord of Azure Wind City, but also a member of the Death God Army. His status had changed in an instant. Congratulations, young city lord. When they came back to their senses, the group immediately went up to congratulate him. Imperial Capital Mountain. In a large hall. Lord Emperor, they are simply messing around. When did our Death God Army have any probationary members? The rules of the Death God Army were set by you and the Lord Ruler. They are offending their superiors by changing the rules. Lord Emperor, please punish them severely no matter what. Dong Qingyuan stood at the bottom of the hall and looked at the Emperor above. He was filled with righteous indignation. Probationary member? There is such a thing? The Emperor was surprised. Absolutely. Moreover, this probationary member is only a peak ruler. He hasn't even comprehended an ultimate intent. What's the point of recruiting such trash to the Death God Army? Dong Qingyuan said angrily. The Emperor pondered for a while and asked, so, you came to see me specifically for this matter? Is this not a big enough matter? Lord Emperor, they changed the rules of the Death God Army without your permission. This is not only looking down on you, but also on the Lord Ruler. Dong Qingyuan exclaimed. He wished that the Emperor would give the order to kill the two of them right now. Rules are dead, but people are alive. Didn't you also ask Dong Yuerong to go to the major clans to expand the strength of the first team? The Emperor smiled faintly. Dong Qingyuan's expression froze. Did the Emperor already know about this? If I want to punish them, I have to punish you too. After all, you also made the decision without permission. The Emperor's simple words left Dong Qingyuan speechless. Indeed. He had also broken the rules. If he only punished the inner demons and did not punish him, he would not be able to convince the public. Qingyuan. You are the person I trust the most. I handed the Death God Army to you because I wanted to see your abilities. But now, your performance has disappointed me. Do you know? The current you is no different from the clowns we usually see. Don't you hate clowns like that? Why have you become like this? The Emperor looked at Dong Qingyuan with some disappointment. Dong Qingyuan's expression changed. He quickly knelt on the ground and said, Heaven and earth can bear witness to my loyalty to your majesty. I have no doubts about your loyalty. But now, you are indeed a little disgraceful. There is only hatred in your eyes, and you are thinking of ways to harm others. I hope you can wake up. Although Lu Yuntian and Lu Yunfeng are arrogant, their talent and ability are obvious to all. The Central Dynasty cannot lose these two talents. Do you understand? Fortunately, it was Dong Qingyuan. If it were someone else, the Emperor would have been furious. He would not be in the mood to persuade him. Dong Qingyuan trembled. He lowered his head, not daring to look into the Emperor's eyes. I didn't put them in important positions before because I didn't investigate their background. But now, I have, and you have personally verified that there is no problem with their identities. So, don't target them in the future. As for the reserve members, it might be a good idea. In the past, the Death God Legion only recruited elites with heavenly will. But now that I think about it, how many elites with heavenly will are there in the world? Basically, there will be one less if one dies. The Death God Legion should indeed be infused with new blood. The Emperor said. But, Dong Qingyuan still wanted to say something. The Emperor raised his hand to stop him. He smiled faintly and said, actually, having reserve members is not necessarily a bad thing. First, there will be an endless supply of new blood. For example, this time, when the 10th team encountered a great calamity, if we had reserve members, we could have let them join the Death God Legion directly. In this way, we don't have to go around recruiting new members. Second, we can see the character, talent, and ability of these reserve members in advance through their growth stage. Also, if there are some small matters in the future, we don't need the official members of the Death God Legion to do it personally. We can let the reserve members do it first. Now, tell me, will the reserve members benefit us? The Emperor asked with a smile. The Emperor is wise. Dong Qingyuan bowed and said. The Emperor was obviously supporting the inner demons. If he continued, it would be tantamount to refuting the Emperor. At that time, it would inevitably arouse the Emperor's disgust and dissatisfaction. That would not benefit him at all. As for Ji Xiaowu, I think that if people like Lu Yuntian and Ling Yunfei think highly of him, it means that he should not be an ordinary person. Perhaps one day, he will become the pillar of the central dynasty. The Emperor chuckled. Pillar of the central dynasty? Just by relying on this ant? Dong Qingyuan sneered secretly, but he repeatedly agreed. It was a classic case of hypocrisy. Chapter 44-65. Dong Qingyuan came to the Emperor to sow discord, but he did not expect to be snubbed. Instead, he was reprimanded by the Emperor. The Emperor even called him a clown. This made him very angry. After leaving the Emperor's hall, he summoned Dong Yuerong and the other commanders. How was it? Dong Kun looked at Dong Qingyuan expectantly. They knew about the Emperor's instigation. How was it? Can't you see for yourself? If it succeeded, would I still be so gloomy? Dong Qingyuan said angrily. What kind of idiots are they? They don't even know how to read a person's body language. Dong Kun smiled embarrassedly. This was a bit like asking for trouble. Not only did the Emperor not blame them, but he also approved of the preparatory members and even reprimanded me. The way I see it, His Majesty's trust in the two of them is no longer ordinary. If they continue to develop, they might even replace us in the Emperor's heart. Dong Qingyuan said in a low voice. Is it that serious? The 9 commanders' eyes darkened. They originally thought that the Emperor valued the two of them only because of their value. After all, the two of them were not of the Emperor's surname. How could the Emperor really trust them? However, they did not expect that the Emperor would really take a fancy to these two people who did not have the same surname. Dong Qingyuan's eyes flashed with killing intent. So, to prevent further trouble, we have to get rid of them as soon as possible. How do we get rid of them? Dong Qian was puzzled. The two of them were not weak. It was not easy to get rid of them. Moreover, the Emperor trusted them so much. If the Emperor found out, they would be punished even if they were the commanders of the Death God army. I have an idea. Dong Yuerong suddenly said. What idea? Not only Dong Qingyuan, but Dong Kun and the others also turned to look at Dong Yuerong. I have to thank the head of the first direct family for reminding me. Although we don't dare to touch Lu Yuntian and Lu Yuntian openly, it doesn't mean we can't touch them secretly. Dong Yuerong sneered. Touch them secretly, they pondered for a while. Dong Qian said in surprise, you mean we can set a trap and kill them secretly? That's right. Although they are very strong, the Legion commander currently has a strand of source energy in his hands. As long as we set up a trap in advance and wait for them to fall into it, they will definitely die. Although Dong Yuerong was a woman, her ruthless methods were not inferior to Dong Qian and the others. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was a viper. Hearing Dong Yuerong's words, Dong Qian and the others couldn't help but look at Dong Qingyuan. They also agreed. However, the person who made the final decision was still Dong Qingyuan. Dong Qingyuan lowered his head, his eyes flickering. After a long time, he hardened his heart and looked at Dong Yuerong, saying, all right, we'll do as you say. This time, the plan must be thorough. We must get rid of them. As long as they are dead, even if His Majesty finds out that we did it, His Majesty will not kill us for 2 dead people. That's right. At that time, the Emperor will only vent his anger on us. Dong Yuerong nodded. Next, the 10 of them began to conspire in the main hall. Several months passed in the blink of an eye. The Black Tortoise whirled. Boom! That afternoon, a powerful aura rushed out from a certain place in the Devil's Land and headed straight for the sky. Above the sky, the wind and clouds suddenly surged, and patches of auspicious clouds rushed over like a tide. The aura of the Will of the Heavenly Tao also descended. Will of the Heavenly Tao. Who is it? Everyone was awakened by this aura and released their good thoughts one after another, rushing towards the source of the aura. Among them included Qin Feiyang, the Frenzy, and the White-Eyed Wolf's divine thoughts. So it's him. We have finally grasped the will of the Heavenly Tao. This time, our overall strength will undoubtedly be stronger. Everyone used their divine thoughts to communicate for a while, then withdrew their divine thoughts one after another and continued to comprehend the laws in seclusion and fuse the inheritance. Swoosh! A graceful woman landed in front of a thick and sturdy tree of creation. Under the tree of creation, a young man in white was sitting cross-legged. This young man was as handsome as jade and had an extraordinary temperament. His 2 sword-like eyebrows emitted a fierce aura. That's right. This person was Long Chen. The will of the Heavenly Tao was also born because of him. In other words, he had finally grasped the ultimate meaning of the 6 strongest laws and welcomed the will of the Heavenly Tao. Brother, congratulations. The woman was Long Qin. She looked at the handsome brother in front of her and giggled. Long Chen slowly opened his eyes, got up, raised his arm, and rubbed Long Qin's head lovingly. Then, he rose into the air and stood in the sky, welcoming the arrival of the will of the Heavenly Tao. Boom! Finally, the will of the Heavenly Tao descended. In an instant, he felt as if he had returned to his mother's embrace, and a warm current flowed through his body and mind. However, before he could carefully experience the power of the will of the Heavenly Tao, a flash of inspiration suddenly appeared in his mind, as if he had grasped something in the ethereal world. Immediately, he sat cross-legged in the sky and closed his eyes, as if he had fallen into a peaceful deep sleep. What's going on? Long Qin looked at Long Chen in shock. He had just come out of seclusion, why was he in seclusion again? And he had not taken out the inheritance. Because even if he was in seclusion again to fuse the inheritance, he had to take out the inheritance that needed to be fused first. But now, Long Chen was sitting cross-legged in the sky alone, with nothing beside him. If it was said that he was cultivating. With Long Chen's current cultivation, apart from the ultimate profound meaning, what else could he cultivate? Long Qin could not understand. The auspicious clouds gradually dissipated, and the will of the Heavenly Tao had completely fused with Long Chen. But several days had passed, and Long Chen did not open his eyes. Seeing this, Long Qin could only continue to fuse the inheritance with a head full of doubts. And outside, in the past few months, the Central Dynasty had also been surging with undercurrents. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin had visited almost all the direct family clans, including the 2nd direct family clan that had gone to the 4 great continents to take advantage of the situation. However, because of the heavy losses in the Taboo Ocean, the 2nd direct family clan was now about to lose the 2nd position. This was also their own fault. Even the top 10 direct family clans did not go to the 4 great continents. How could a mere direct family clan have the guts? Taking advantage of the situation depended on the person. But, although the inner demons and Lu Jiajin had visited all the major direct family clans, no one from the direct family clan was willing to join the 10th team. Even threats were useless. Even some direct family clans had made it clear that they had already joined the first team in advance. Although the inner demon's methods were ruthless and lawless, when faced with these stubborn people, he had no way to deal with them. Because he couldn't possibly kill these people, could he? Even if he wanted to, the emperor would not allow it. Dong Qingyuan and Dong Yuerong, are they determined to fight with us to the end? In the sky above a mountain. The inner demons was very angry. If it were not for the fact that he wanted to continue lurking by the emperor's side, he would have already taken action. Why would he suffer such grievances? But Lu Jiajin's face was very calm, as if it had nothing to do with him. He smiled and said, "Don't be angry. I guess they can't hold it in any longer. As long as they take action, it will be time for us to turn the tables." Can't hold it in? Take action? The inner demons was stunned. Yes. Lu Jiajin nodded. What do you mean? The inner demons looked at him suspiciously. I have completely seen through Dong Qingyuan. If nothing goes wrong, he will take action against us soon. Lu Jiajin smiled. If there was a woman here at this moment, she would definitely be fascinated by his smile. That was because that smile was filled with unparalleled confidence. Take action against us? Don't joke. Does he have the guts? Don't forget that we are now the emperor's favorites. The inner demons did not believe it. So what? They don't dare to do it openly, but they dare not do it secretly. In the past, Dong Qingyuan indeed did not have the guts. But now, he has the origin energy in his hands. The existence of this origin energy will definitely make him arrogant. Moreover, he hates us so much. How can he tolerate us being so arrogant? Lu Jiajin smiled. The inner demons could not help but frown when he heard this. He would not doubt Lu Jiajin's judgment. Because if it were not for Lu Jiajin's intelligence, their identities would have been exposed in the central dynasty. However, Dong Qingyuan did this. Was he not afraid that the emperor would blame him? If it really succeeds, do you think the emperor will punish Dong Qingyuan for 2 dead people who are not of the same surname? Lu Jiajin smiled. True enough. He had already seen through everything. If Dong Qingyuan knew this, he would be stunned. It was as if he saw them plotting in the main hall with his own eyes. That's true. The inner demons nodded. Buzz. Suddenly, the sacred voice stone vibrated. Lu Jiajin took out the sacred voice stone, lowered his head and looked at it. The corners of his mouth lifted immediately. Who is it? The inner demons looked at him suspiciously. Dong Yuming. Lu Jiajin smiled playfully and activated the sacred voice stone. True enough. Dong Yuming's virtual image appeared. Greetings to the 2 commanders. Dong Yuming bowed. He could not get rid of the shadow in his heart. Looking at the inner demons, there was deep fear in his eyes. Is there anything? Lu Jiajin asked with a smile. Yes. I just received a message from the family head of the first direct family. He wants to talk to you. Dong Yuming said. Talk about what? Lu Jiajin was puzzled. I don't know. He said that he will only tell you when he sees you in person. Dong Yuming shook his head. Okay, let's go see him now. Lu Jiajin nodded and turned off the sacred voice stone. The inner demons lowered his head and pondered for a while. He looked at Lu Jiajin and asked, will Dong Yuming collude with Dong Qingyuan and the rest? After all, they had robbed Dong Yuming of the position of commander. Dong Yuming would definitely bear a grudge. He wouldn't dare. Because he has lost his courage to face us. Let's go. Let's go to the first direct family and see what the family head has to say. Speaking of this, Lu Jiajin paused for a moment and smiled faintly. Perhaps, their plan has already been activated. With that, he opened a space-time passage and strode in. Plan, interesting. The inner demons smiled and immediately stepped into the space-time passage and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 4466. The First Direct Family. In the mansion. A middle-aged man in black sat alone in the main hall. The teapot on the coffee table in front of him gave off a refreshing tea fragrance. This man was the head of the First Direct Family. His name was Dong Cha. At this moment, his eyes flashed with a bright light. You dare to be arrogant with me? Just you wait, it will be your doomsday soon. He was planning something in his heart, but only he knew what it was. Buzz. Suddenly, a space-time tunnel appeared and two figures walked out one after another. It was none other than Lu Jiajin and the inner demons. Seeing the two of them arrive, Dong Cha stood up and greeted them with a smile on his face. Lu Jiajin walked into the main hall and said with a smile, I haven't seen you for a few months and you look more energetic. Did something good happen? What good thing happened to me? I only have one wish now, and that is for my daughter to be free soon. Dong Cha sighed. Don't worry, Dong Cha. I believe that Dong Xian will be able to escape from the sea of suffering and come back alive. Lu Jiajin comforted him. That's right. The First Direct Family was Dong Qin's family. Dong Qin, as one of the 5 unparalleled geniuses, had the great heaven domain and was highly valued by the emperor. Therefore, her family's status in the central dynasty was rising. In the past, Dong Qin's family was only at the bottom of the list among the direct families. But since Dong Qin's rise, after all these years of development, she stepped into the first place step by step and no one could shake her. The second direct family wanted to bring Lu Zhongtian and Zhuang Mingyue back because they wanted to compete with the first direct family. Because as long as Lu Zhongtian and Zhuang Mingyue's battle souls evolved, they would have the strength to compete with Dong Qin. After all, both of their battle souls were the strongest battle souls. The Eye of Oblivion and the Eye of Destruction. But they never expected that Qin Feiyang and the others would return to the Divine Kingdom so quickly. Not only did they take back Lu Zhongtian and Zhuang Mingyue, but they also caused the second direct family to suffer heavy losses. I hope so. Dong Cha sighed and led the two to the coffee table and said with a smile, Please have a seat. The inner demon looked at the divine tea that had been brewed a long time ago and then glanced at the smiling Dong Cha. She couldn't help but mutter in her heart. This person's attitude had changed too much. Was he afraid that others wouldn't know that he had a guilty conscience? Stupid. Acting had to be more realistic. Please have some tea. Dong Cha poured 2 cups of tea and pushed them in front of the two. The inner demons disdainfully took out a jug of divine wine, leaned back on the chair, and drank it leisurely. This younger brother of mine doesn't like to drink tea. I hope that Patriarch Dong Cha will forgive him. Lu Jiajin smiled apologetically. He picked up the teacup and sniffed it. His eyes lit up as he asked, could this be the Jasper Violet Luo Spring? The tea was like a precious jade, glowing with a faint purple light. The tea entered their nostrils, making them feel as if they were standing on a green grassland, bathing under the warm sun. Lord Commander has a good eye. That's right, this is the supreme grade divine tea, green jade purple Luo Spring. Dong Cha nodded and smiled. Lu Jiajin placed it at the corner of his mouth and tasted it lightly. It was as if a strand of divine essence with a strange fragrance entered his throat. His body and mind instantly felt incomparably comfortable. Jasper Purple Spring was a top-grade divine tea from the Central Dynasty. Most people couldn't afford it. No. This thing was simply priceless. This time, the inner demons were even more suspicious in their hearts. It was a bit unusual for him to treat them with a top-grade divine tea, green jade purple luo spring. Good tea. Lu Jiajin nodded with a smile on his face. I'm glad that the commander likes it. Dong Cha said with a flattering smile. Lu Jiajin put down the teacup and smiled faintly. Patriarch Dong Cha, if you have anything to say, just say it. Dong Cha was slightly taken aback and smiled. Lord Commander, you really have a good eye. No wonder the Emperor let the two of you become the commander and deputy commander of the 10th team. The Emperor has a good eye. He knows that we're talented generals. The inner demons smiled proudly and wasn't humble at all. Yes, yes, yes. I invited the two of you here for two things. If the two of you agree, I'll let all the experts of the heavenly path join the 10th team. Dong Cha said. That's great. Lu Jiajin smiled and asked, what are the two things? First, help me rescue my daughter. Second, there are many outstanding juniors in the family. I hope that the two of you can let them become reserve members of the Death God Army. Dong Cha said. Lu Jiajin and Frenzy looked at each other. Rescue Dong Qin? This Dong Cha actually had such an idea? Would he have a chance to rescue someone who fell into the hands of Qin Feiyang? Naive. The second thing is very easy. As the number one direct family, the juniors in your family must be extraordinary. Becoming a reserve member is just a matter of a word from us. However, I'm afraid it's a bit difficult to rescue your daughter. Lu Jiajin was a little hesitant. Dong Cha clenched his fists and said with a firm gaze, no matter how difficult it is, I must rescue my daughter. Whether their family could remain as the number one direct family was all thanks to Dong Qin. So, they could give up on anyone but Dong Qin. Once they lost Dong Qin, their family would inevitably decline step by step until they reached the bottom. I can understand your eagerness to save your daughter. But it is said that Dong Qin is in the hands of Qin Feiyang. Let's not talk about the strength of Qin Feiyang and the rest. Just to rescue your daughter, we must first find the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang and the rest. But now, they seem to have disappeared from the world and there is nowhere to find them. Lu Jiajin looked a little embarrassed. Dong Cha said, don't worry about this. I have already inquired about the hiding place of Qin Feiyang and the rest. As long as you agree, I will immediately take you there. What? You have already inquired about their hiding place? Both of them looked at Dong Cha in shock. Was this for real? Yes. They are hiding in a mountain range called Flame Mountain in the northwest. Dong Cha nodded. There was a flash of light in their eyes. Flame Mountain in the northwest, wasn't this a blatant lie? Qin Feiyang and the rest were clearly in the city lord mansion of Qingfeng City. It seems that there is a conspiracy here. The inner demons snickered. That's why I said that their plan may have already started. It seems that Dong Cha should be the first step of their plan. Lu Jiajin transmitted his voice. You are courting death. A murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the inner demons. How dare this guy, who overestimated himself, join hands with Dong Qingyuan and the rest to harm them? In fact, Dong Cha was not to be blamed for being stupid. Because he did not know the relationship between the inner demons and Qin Feiyang at all. To be honest, this plan was quite good. If it were others, they would definitely believe Dong Cha's words. But unfortunately, they encountered the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. No one knew the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang and the rest better than the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. They could tell at a glance whether Dong Cha was telling the truth or not. Really? How do you know? Lu Jiajin pretended to be very surprised. It's absolutely true. My people saw it with their own eyes. But because we were afraid of their strength, we did not act rashly and alert them. Dong Cha nodded. If it's true, you will have made a great contribution. Okay. We promise you. Lu Jiajin nodded, looking very happy. Wait a minute. The inner demons stopped Lu Jiajin and looked at Dong Cha. I don't understand. Why didn't you inform the emperor directly about such an important matter? There was a hint of playfulness in his eyes. Since it was a conspiracy, everything that had been said was naturally false. He wanted to see how this person would answer his question. Sure enough. Dong Cha did not know how to answer the sudden question from the inner demons. Because in his opinion, the two of them would be very excited to know the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang and the rest because this was a good opportunity to make a contribution. Usually, impatient people would immediately ask him to lead the way after hearing this news. But Lu Yuntian did not play by the rules at all and asked such a question that he was not prepared for. Brother, that's because you're insensible. Lu Jiajin stared at the inner demons. What? The inner demons frowned. Patriarch Dong Cha told us such important news in private because he trusts us and wants to give us this opportunity to make a contribution. We should be grateful to him. Why are you still asking this? What? Are you doubting Patriarch Dong Cha? Let me tell you, this is not allowed. As a person, you should treat others with sincerity. Lu Jiajin reprimanded the displeased inner demons. It's not that serious. Dong Cha hurriedly waved his hand and said with a smile, of course, I did tell you because I trust you and your ability. Patriarch, your words are a little offensive. Because from what you said, you don't trust the ability of others. Lu Jiajin laughed. It's the truth. Look, some time ago, Dong Qingyuan, Dragon God, and Kunpeng led the entire Death God army to the Kunpeng Sea region to encircle Qin Feiyang and the rest. But what was the result? Qin Feiyang and the rest secretly escaped from the Kunpeng Sea region. They didn't know anything. So, instead of counting on them to save my daughter, I'd rather count on you too. Dong Cha sighed. This was the excuse he thought of when Lu Jiajin reprimanded the inner demons. Don't say it. Now that he heard it, it really was flawless. If it was someone else, they would definitely believe his nonsense. But in front of Lu Jiajin and the inner demons, it was destined to be a joke. The two of you, there's no time to lose. Let's go now. I'm worried that if they suddenly change their hiding place, it won't be so easy to find them again. Dong Cha urged. Okay. But after all, we're facing Qin Feiyang and the rest. We have to be prepared. Speaking of this, Lu Jiajin looked at the inner demons and said with a smile, go to the space divine item and see if the peak-level sovereign divine weapon has been repaired. Ask if it can participate in the battle later. Okay. The inner demons nodded and glanced at Dong Cha, who was sitting next to them. A flash of light flashed in his eyes, then he got up, grabbed the wine jar and disappeared in an instant. Chapter 44-67. Hearing Lu Jiajin's words, Dong Cha didn't think too much. He had heard of the so-called peak-level sovereign divine weapon. This was Dong Qingyuan's former sovereign divine weapon. Later, it was snatched by Lu Yuntian. The last time he came back from the 4 continents, Lu Yuntian even took out this sovereign divine weapon to deal with Dong Qingyuan. It was said that at that time, he was seriously injured by the emperor's emperor sword. If he could get this peak-level sovereign divine weapon, even if Dong Qin was not here, his position as the first direct family would be unshakable. Or, should he ask Dong Qingyuan to give him the divine weapon after killing these 2 people? After all, he was also a person of great merit. Besides, whether it was Lu Yuntian or Lu Yunfeng, they were both extremely difficult to deal with. After getting rid of these 2, it was not too much to ask for a peak-level sovereign divine weapon. At this thought, the greed in his heart could no longer be controlled. Because he had to plan for the future. If Dong Qin fell into the hands of others, there was still hope to escape. But if she fell into the hands of Qin Feiyang and the others, she would probably die sooner or later. Once Dong Qin died, who would be their backer? So, if there was a peak-level sovereign divine weapon, even if Dong Qin unfortunately died, the position of the first direct family would still be as stable as Mount Tai. In a short while, the inner demons came out of the space divine item and looked at Lu Jiajin. With this, you can barely participate in the battle. As long as you can participate in the battle. Lu Jiajin nodded and looked at Dong Cha with a smile. Let's go to Blazing Flame Mountain. Okay. As Dong Cha waved his hand, a space-time tunnel appeared. He stepped aside and said respectfully, "You two go first." Lu Jiajin and the inner demons looked at each other and stepped into the space-time tunnel. Dong Cha looked up at a certain void in the main hall and stepped into the space-time tunnel as well. Just as the space-time tunnel dissipated, a woman in a fiery red dress appeared. It was Dong Yuerong, with a cold smile on her face. Immediately, Dong Yuerong also took out the voice transmission stone. Buzz! A shadow appeared. It was Dong Qingyuan. They have already entered the game. Dong Yuerong looked at Dong Qingyuan and smiled coldly. Very good. We'll be there right away. Dong Qingyuan's eyes flashed with murderous intent and then the shadow disappeared. Raging Flame Mountain. This was a mountain range that was enveloped in flames all year round. That was because there was a volcano in the center of the mountain range that would frequently spew out lava. As a result, the entire mountain range was constantly enveloped in a terrifyingly high temperature. As long as one walked into the Raging Flame Mountain, they would feel a terrifying heat wave that seemed to be able to melt their bodies. It was also because of the harsh environment that very few people stepped into this place. Even ferocious beasts were hard to find. Therefore, Raging Flame Mountain was indeed a pretty good hiding place. Whoosh! Suddenly, the three figures descended above the mountains and rivers. They were the inner demons, Lu Jiajin and Dong Cha. The inner demons' eyes glinted as they looked at the boiling lava and burning flames on the ground. They laughed cruelly and said, "I didn't expect Qin Feiyang and the others to find such a secluded hiding place so soon after arriving at the Central Dynasty. This also means that they are indeed difficult to deal with." Dong Cha said gloomily. He lifted his head to look at a volcano in the center of the fiery mountain range and said in a low voice, "To avoid disturbing them, we should conceal our auras first." Okay. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin nodded. Their auras were immediately concealed to the extreme. If they didn't see them with their naked eyes, they wouldn't know of their existence at all. "Lords, please, you must save my daughter." Dong Cha looked at the two again with a pleading face. "Don't worry. As long as they are really here, they won't be able to escape today." The inner demons smiled coldly. Phew. Hearing this, Dong Cha took a deep breath and led the two to the volcano in the center. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin followed closely on both sides. Very soon, they came to the volcano. Looking at the volcano that was constantly erupting, the inner demons frowned and said suspiciously, "Dong Cha, I don't seem to sense their auras. They must be hiding their auras. But we have to look for their specific location." Dong Cha whispered. In fact, he was just stalling for time, waiting for Dong Qingyuan and the others to arrive. 1 breath. 2 breaths, about 5 breaths. In the sky above, auras suddenly descended. "They're finally here." The inner demons muttered secretly and looked up at the sky. It was Dong Qingyuan, Dong Yuerong, and the other 9 commanders. In addition, there was another person. He was a young man, wearing a purple robe, with a tall and straight body and an extraordinary appearance. It was Dong Hanzong. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin pretended to be surprised, turned to look at Dong Cha, and said secretly, "What's going on? Why are they here? Didn't you say that only you know where Qin Feiyang and the others are hiding?" Hearing this, the corners of Dong Cha's mouth lifted slightly, with a hint of sarcasm. He stepped into the air and landed in front of Dong Qingyuan. "What do you mean?" The inner demons raised his eyebrows. "Do you really think that Qin Feiyang and the others are here?" Dong Cha looked down at the two and sneered. "You lied to us?" The inner demons was stunned. "That's right. Qin Feiyang and the others are not at Flame Mountain at all." Dong Cha sneered. "Why did you lie to us? Do you want to die?" The inner demons was furious, and a shocking murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Lu Jiajin's eyes also turned cold. "Ha, you're about to die, and you're still arrogant?" Dong Cha laughed. Dong Qingyuan and the 9 commanders' eyes were also full of ridicule. "Death is about to come, so, this is a conspiracy against us?" Lu Jiajin said. "That's right. You're too arrogant, and you don't even respect the Legion commander. If you don't die, the heavens will not tolerate it." Dong Kuan sneered. Lu Jiajin looked at Dong Kuan, then looked at Dong Qingyuan and the others, and said in a deep voice, "You actually used such a despicable method to plot against us, aren't you afraid that the Emperor will find out?" "Huh, still so naive? Look at Flame Mountain, is there anyone else now? As long as we do it cleanly, the Emperor will know that it was us who did it. When he finds out that you're dead, we'll say that you were killed by Qin Feiyang and the others. At that time, the Emperor will only look for Qin Feiyang and the others, and not us. Moreover, you'll be dead by then, so what if the Emperor finds out? Will he kill us because of you two dead people?" Dong Qian and the other commanders' faces were full of sarcasm. "I see. Although I hate you, your methods are really impressive." Lu Jiajin shook his head, then looked at Dong Hanzong and asked suspiciously, "Why did you get involved?" "Isn't it simple? Because the Legion commander is my teacher. Because the Dong family head is the father of my beloved, Dong Qin. Also, back in the 4 great continents, you humiliated me many times, and I've long wanted to settle this score with you." Dong Hanzong sneered. "So, you all decided to work together and set up such a trap?" "Dong Hanzong, I've overestimated you. I thought that as the leader of the 5 unparalleled geniuses, you're an upright person, but I never thought that you'd be the same as Dong Qingyuan and the others." Lu Jiajin's eyes were full of sarcasm. "Whatever you say, I know that the winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Now, I'm the winner. Although you're talented and capable, you can't escape the fate of being the loser." Dong Hanzong didn't care about Lu Jiajin's sarcasm, and his face was full of pride. "Don't talk so much nonsense. Let's get rid of them quickly before anything happens," Dong Kun said with a murderous aura. "Wait." Dong Qingyuan stopped Dong Kun, looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin, and said, "I don't need to tell you about your current situation. I'll give you a chance. Legion commander? Teacher? Lord?" Dong Cha, Dong Hanzong, Dong Yuerong, and the others looked at Dong Qingyuan in surprise. Didn't he say that he was going to get rid of these two? Why did he give them a chance? Wasn't this letting the tiger go back to the mountain? Dong Qingyuan waved his hand, motioning for the group to shut up. He looked at the inner demons and continued, "Strip your life and death laws and the eye of nothingness, and I'll give you a way out." Hearing this, the group of people suddenly understood. It turned out that he wanted their life and death laws and the eye of nothingness. Immediately after, the group of people was also excited. The ultimate life and death laws and the strongest battle soul, the eye of nothingness, which one of them wasn't coveted? If they could get it, their strength would increase by many times. Especially Dong Hanzong. His heart was burning with passion. His strength was already very powerful. If he could get his hands on the life and death laws and the Eye of Nothingness, then in the entire Central Dynasty, no. In the entire Divine Kingdom, in the entire world, who would be his opponent? At that time, he would be invincible. You want our life and death laws and the Eye of Nothingness? You're really greedy. The inner demon's mouth twitched. How could people in this world be so greedy and insatiable? One way is death, the other way is life. Choose for yourselves. Dong Qingyuan said lightly. If he could really get his hands on the life and death laws and the Eye of Nothingness, then what was the harm in letting these two go? The reason why these two were so unscrupulous was because of the life and death laws and the Eye of Nothingness. As long as these two methods were taken away, these two were no different from ordinary will of heaven powerhouses. At that time, there would naturally be no threat. Interesting. However, I don't dare to believe you. Even if we hand over the life and death laws and the Eye of Nothingness, you'll definitely get rid of us. After all, we've already lost our strongest method. It's easier to kill us. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly. You can still smile? Is this person mentally strong? Looking at the smiling Lu Jiajin, Dong Cha was in disbelief. If it were him, he would have knelt down in despair. How could he still maintain such a relaxed state of mind? Fine. In order to live, we'll give it to you. However, before Dong Qingyuan and the group could rejoice, Lu Jiajin changed the topic and said, "But I'm sorry. Even if we're willing to give it to you, I think the emperor will not agree." Chapter 44-68. The emperor won't agree? The group of people looked at each other. Was this person telling a joke? The emperor wasn't here, no. The emperor didn't know anything about this. How could he use the emperor to scare them? He was indeed naive and ridiculous. Just as Dong Kun and the others were about to mock him, Lu Jiajin and the inner demons looked at each other and suddenly bowed together, saying respectfully, "Welcome, Emperor." They didn't know where the emperor was at this moment. But they were sure that he was at Flame Mountain. When Dong Qingyuan and the others saw this, they immediately scanned their surroundings in surprise. Be careful. This may be their escape plan. The emperor isn't here at all. Dong Hanzong transmitted his voice. Escape plan? Dong Qingyuan and the others were stunned. They immediately looked at the inner demons and were about to mock them again. But at this moment, a terrifying aura emerged from the sky above the mountain on the left. The next moment, two figures, a man and a woman, appeared. The man was a middle-aged man. His face couldn't be seen clearly, but the golden dragon robe on his body was clearly visible. In the entire Divine Kingdom, only one person dared to wear such a dragon robe. This person was the emperor. The woman was very young. She was similar to the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. She was a beauty. She had a devilish figure and an angelic face. Her appearance made the world lose its color. Her long black hair fluttered in the wind. She was wearing a snow-white long dress that was spotless. From afar, she looked like a goddess who had descended to the mortal world. She was stunning. There was a crescent-shaped mark in the middle of her eyebrows. It looked like a birthmark. But it didn't seem to be. It shone like a piece of beautiful jade inlaid in the middle of her eyebrows, adding some charm to her. Why is she here too? Lu Jiajin looked at the woman in surprise. The inner demons transmitted his voice. I didn't establish a contract with the emperor, so I sent her a message and asked her to inform the emperor. Lu Jiajin nodded in realization. That's right. Previously in the hall, the inner demons entered the space divine item to send a message to this woman, asking her to inform the emperor to come to Flame Mountain to watch a good show. In other words, the emperor and the woman heard everything that Dong Qingyuan and the others had said. How could this be? Why are His Majesty and Her Highness at Raging Flame Mountain? Who can tell me what's going on? Dong Qingyuan, the 9 great commanders, Dong Hanzong, and Dong Cha all froze in the air when they saw the emperor and the woman. This was completely beyond their expectations. Humph! How dare you? How dare you hide it from Imperial Father and set up a trap to harm your own people? The woman said. There was a trace of anger on her peerless face. Her voice was also very pleasant to the ears, like an oriole flying out of a valley, clear and melodious. Not to mention the emperor, her identity alone was enough to intimidate everyone present. Because she was the daughter of the emperor, known as the #1 beauty of the Central Dynasty, the Moon Fairy Princess. Full name, Dong Yuxian. Indeed. He was just like his name. She was like a fairy descending to the mortal world, exuding experience from all directions. For example, Dong Hanzong couldn't help but look at Dong Yuxian with a burning passion. This was the woman that he, Dong Hanzong, should marry. What Dong Qin? What Dong Xin? In front of this woman, they were just ordinary women. Your Majesty, Your Highness, you, Dong Qingyuan came back to his senses and looked at the two in horror. Do you want to ask when we arrived? When you came, we came. The emperor said. Anyone who wasn't a fool could hear the anger in his voice. Dong Qingyuan's face turned pale. If they arrived so early, wouldn't the emperor and the Moon Fairy Princess have heard everything? Not bad. Not only do you think Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian are fools, but you also think I'm a fool. The emperor's eyes were gloomy. They killed Lu Yunfeng and his brothers and framed Qin Feiyang and the others. If they didn't think he was a fool, what else could it be? As soon as the emperor said this, Dong Qingyuan wasn't the only one. Dong Hanzong, Dong Cha, and the 9 great commanders all knelt in the air and cried, "We were foolish for a moment. Please forgive us, Your Majesty." Foolish? How could a foolish person come up with such a shocking conspiracy? It seems that you still think I'm a fool. The emperor was so angry that he laughed. The group of people was terrified to the extreme. It was originally a simple sentence to beg for mercy, but he didn't expect the emperor to seize the opportunity. Wasn't this adding insult to injury? Dong Qingyuan, do you remember what I told you in the main hall? The emperor took a deep breath and looked at Dong Qingyuan. I remember. How could I forget Your Majesty's words? Dong Qingyuan nodded. Since you remember, what did you do? You joined forces with so many people to set up a trap to get rid of the 2 rising stars of the Central Dynasty for your own selfish desires? The emperor shouted. I was wrong. Your Majesty, please give me another chance. Dong Qingyuan's body and mind trembled. His face was full of fear. Why did it turn out like this? It was supposed to be a sure thing. Why did the emperor and the princess have to be here? Damn it. Who was it that had tipped them off? It was us. Lu Jiajin smiled. Us? Dong Qingyuan looked at Lu Jiajin and the inner demons in disbelief. The 2 of them didn't know about their scheme. How could they have tipped off the emperor in advance? Lu Jiajin glanced at Dong Qingyuan and then at Dong Cha. He smiled and said, Do you remember that I asked my brother to go to the spatial divine item? Yes. Dong Cha nodded. Of course he remembered. But didn't Lu Yuntian go to the spatial divine item to check on the pinnacle sovereign divine weapon? If I'm right, there should be someone else in the main hall besides Dong Cha. Lu Jiajin curled his lips and glanced at the 9 commanders. Dong Yuerong's eyes narrowed. She was in the main hall and hidden in the spatial divine item. It was you. Lu Jiajin's eyes locked on Dong Yuerong. As long as he wanted, anyone's expression couldn't escape his eyes. Dong Yuerong panicked. However, Lu Jiajin shifted his gaze to Dong Qingyuan and said, "At that time, I didn't ask my brother to go to the spatial divine item to check on the sovereign divine weapon. Instead, I sent a message to Princess Yuxian and asked her to bring the emperor here to enjoy a good show." Dong Qingyuan's eyes trembled when he heard this. He didn't expect the two of them to see through their scheme. They even beat them at their own game and launched a counterattack. Lu Jiajin looked at the emperor and Princess Yuxian and smiled. "Emperor, Princess, this show didn't disappoint you, did it?" Princess Yuxian pouted. "What's there to be proud of? If I didn't bring my father here, you too would have died to Dong Qingyuan's scheme no matter how smart you are. Of course, we have to thank your highness for this. You can make a request of us in the future. We'll agree to it." Lu Jiajin smiled. "I didn't say that." The inner demons shook his head and looked at Princess Yuxian. He said indifferently, "If you want to make a request, go to him. Don't come to me. I don't have time to play around with you." "What do you mean? Playing around with me is playing around with you? As if I'm an unruly princess. You have to make it clear today, or I won't let you off." Princess Yuxian glared at the inner demons. "Won't let me off? What do you want? Beat me up? Do you have the ability?" The inner demons smiled disdainfully. Looking at the inner demon's disdainful attitude, Princess Yuxian trembled with anger. How can there be such a man in the world? She's a woman. In front of so many people, can't you give me some face? You don't have any pity for a woman. It's so infuriating. Ahem. The emperor coughed and looked at the inner demons meaningfully. He reminded, pay attention to the situation and your image." Princess Yuxian was stunned. She looked at Dong Qingyuan and the others, then glared at the inner demons. She said angrily, "I'll settle this with you in the future." "Who's afraid of who?" The inner demons smiled arrogantly. They looked like they were flirting with each other. Dong Hanzong looked at this scene silently. The anger in his heart was uncontrollable. Why? Why can these two outsiders be recognized by the emperor and become the commander and vice-commander of the 10th team? Why is their relationship with Princess Yuxian so good? He couldn't accept it. He was extremely jealous. Princess Yuxian should be his woman. Only a peerless genius like him was worthy of the emperor's beloved daughter. Whoosh! The emperor glanced at Dong Qingyuan and the others. He took a deep breath and said, "Let's go back to the imperial palace first." With that, he waved his hand and a space-time tunnel appeared. The inner demons looked at Dong Qingyuan and the others and said mockingly, "Legion commander, commanders, peerless geniuses, and the head of the first direct family, please." The group stood up. They were so terrified that they couldn't even walk properly. "Do you want me to help you?" The inner demons looked at this scene and laughed. "No need." Dong Qingyuan glared at the inner demons and followed the emperor and Princess Yuxian into the space-time tunnel anxiously. Dong Hanzong and the 9 commanders followed them. "Sirs, I didn't do it on purpose. They forced me. You have to believe me. I'm just a nobody in the direct family. How could I dare to go against the 2 commanders?" Dong Cha immediately knelt at the feet of Inner Demon and cried out. "Don't be afraid. It's just the beginning. Why are you in such a hurry? We'll take good care of you in the future." The inner demon said with a meaningful smile as she helped Dong Cha up. Dong Cha was on the verge of breaking down. Especially when he heard the words, "take good care of you," he fell into the abyss of despair. "What are you afraid of? You dared to work with them to plot against us. Are you afraid that we'll take good care of you? Don't worry. If you didn't work with them to lure us to Blazing Flame Mountain, we wouldn't have been able to beat them at their own game. Speaking of which, you're still our hero. So, we don't mean anything by taking good care of you. We really want to thank you. Let's go. Don't let the Emperor wait too long. The inner demons grimaced. He grabbed the limp Dong Cha and followed Lu Jiajin into the spacetime tunnel. Chapter 4469. The Imperial Palace. This supreme place was located in the sky above the imperial capital mountain. It was like an ancient temple suspended in the void, emitting an ancient and mysterious aura. In front of the main hall, two middle-aged burly men in purple gold armor stood upright, holding two long spears in their hands. Their eyes were cold and filled with a murderous aura. These two were experts with heavenly Tao will. Moreover, whether it was their purple gold armor or the long spears in their hands, they were all low-level sovereign divine weapons. Experts with heavenly Tao will and sovereign divine weapons were only guarding the entrance of the imperial palace. It was somewhat extravagant. But, on the other hand, this also represented the importance of the imperial palace. Although there were no treasures in the imperial palace, it represented the symbol of power and status. Naturally, it was not blasphemous. Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, Your Highness. Following the arrival of the Emperor and Princess Wuxia, the two burly men immediately bowed. Stand guard outside. No matter what happens later, don't come in and disturb us. The Emperor ordered and waved his hand. The imperial palace's door opened and he quickly walked in. The two burly men were a little suspicious. The Emperor's face seemed to be very ugly. Looking at Dong Qingyuan, the 9 commanders, the Lu brothers, Dong Hanzong, and Dong Cha behind him. Because of Dong Qin, they also had an impression of Dong Cha. But what puzzled them was, why did Dong Cha follow them to the imperial palace? Although Dong Qin was talented and highly appreciated by the Emperor, Dong Qin was Dong Cha and Dong Cha was Dong Cha. Dong Cha was just the patriarch of a direct family and did not have the qualifications to enter the imperial palace. What was going on? Could it be that they knew the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang and the others and were preparing to discuss a plan to rescue Dong Qin? As the group entered the imperial palace, the Emperor waved his hand and the door slowly closed. The space in the main hall was at least a few thousand feet wide and seemed very spacious. Everywhere, it was dazzling and magnificent. On top of it, there was a golden dragon throne with the Emperor sitting on it. He was like the supreme ruler of heaven and earth, looking down on all directions. He was extremely majestic. Princess Wuxia stood beside the Emperor. Her exquisite figure and angelic appearance made her look like a fairy. Perhaps because she was always by the Emperor's side, she had the aura of an emperor. There were no seats in the hall below. Because only the Emperor had the right to sit here. However, even if the imperial palace didn't prepare a seat, why couldn't he prepare one himself? The inner demons took out 2 chairs, one for themselves and the other for Lu Jiajin. The Emperor turned a blind eye to this scene, as if he was already used to it. What 2 arrogant fellows! Princess Moon Fairy kept rolling her eyes, which made her seem rather cute. As soon as Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, the 9 great commanders, and Dong Cha entered the Emperor Palace, they all knelt in the main hall with fear written all over their faces. Speak. How do you want me to deal with you? The Emperor spoke, breaking the dead silence. Your Majesty, spare my life. We have already deeply realized our own mistakes. We will never dare to do it again. We beg your Majesty to give us a chance to turn over a new leaf. Lu Yuntian, Lu Yunfeng, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. We apologize to you, we apologize to you. Please be magnanimous and don't hold it against us. The 9 great commanders hurriedly opened their mouths. Even their words were trembling. They were terrified to the extreme. Magnanimous? You plotted such a big conspiracy to assassinate us. If it were you, would you be magnanimous? Can you not hold it against us? The inner demon sneered. Now you know how to be afraid? Now you know how to beg for mercy? How could there be such a thing? Suddenly, Dong Hanzong said, Your Majesty, in fact, this was all Dong Cha's idea. What? Dong Cha looked at Dong Hanzong in disbelief. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin were stunned. This Dong Hanzong was really willing to do anything to protect himself. Interesting. After coming back to his senses, the inner demons secretly took out the divine voice stone with a playful smile. That's right. This was all planned by Dong Cha. We were all instigated by him. Before Dong Cha could react, Dong Qingyuan's eyes flashed and he nodded in agreement. When Dong Cha looked at Dong Qingyuan again, he was dumbfounded. Even Dong Qingyuan said so. He suddenly became angry. How could a peerless genius and the commander of the Death God army be so despicable? Obviously, he wanted to make him the scapegoat. Dong Yuerong said, Your Majesty, I can testify that it was indeed Dong Cha who suggested this. Don't go too far. Yes. I did say so, but what am I? I'm just the patriarch of a lineal family. Do I have the guts to go against Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian? Isn't it because you plotted this behind the scenes? Dong Cha couldn't help but roar at the group of people. It was too chilling. One was the person his daughter liked, and the other was his daughter's teacher. How could they do such a vicious thing and make him the scapegoat? Don't talk nonsense. If you hadn't instigated us, would we have done such a thing in a moment of confusion? Dong Hanzong shouted. In a moment of confusion? Dong Cha was so angry that he laughed and said, Dong Hanzong, you are such a smart person. How can you be confused? If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. I really feel sorry for my daughter. How could she fall in love with a shameless scum like you? I'm sorry, I've never liked your daughter. It's just her wishful thinking. Dong Hanzong sneered. His woman should be Princess Yuxian. As long as he could marry Princess Yuxian, not only would he become the emperor's son-in-law, but he would also obtain supreme status and power. When the time came, he would be able to make a comeback. Who dared to say that he was a peasant from the collateral family? Bastard, you're a bastard. Dong Cha was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of old blood. In the past, Dong Hanzong was so polite in front of him. What a talent. Now, at such a critical moment, he showed such a hypocritical side. He didn't deserve to be a human. You're still insulting me? Dong Hanzong's eyes flashed with killing intent. He looked at the emperor and said, Your Majesty, we are indeed guilty, but the culprit is Dong Cha. I hope your Majesty will punish him severely. Then how do you think we should punish him? The inner demons looked at Dong Hanzong mockingly. This kind of person must be killed as an example to others. Dong Hanzong's words were resolute and decisive, without the slightest hesitation. Ruthless. The inner demons shook his head. He was already considered ruthless, but compared to Dong Hanzong, the difference was like heaven and earth. There was no comparison. Above. The emperor's eyes flickered, but he remained silent. Princess Yuxian looked at Dong Hanzong with a trace of disdain. A man with no sense of responsibility at all. Dong Hanzong and Dong Qin's relationship was known to everyone who was familiar with them. Previously at Raging Flame Mountain, Dong Hanzong had personally admitted that Dong Cha was his future father-in-law. But now, in order to protect himself, he turned hostile as soon as he said so. He displayed his ruthless side to the fullest. Did he think that he was smart? Even when it was a matter of life and death, he could think of a way to save his life? But he didn't know that his behavior was what made people despise him. Princess Yuxian turned to look at the inner demons and asked curiously, "I'm curious, how did you see through their conspiracy?" In an instant. The emperor, Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, the 9 great commanders, and Dong Cha all looked at the inner demons. This was also the question in their hearts. This plan could be said to be flawless, but how did the inner demons see through it? It's all because my eldest brother is smart. The inner demons smiled proudly. The corners of Princess Yuxian's mouth twitched. Can you not be so narcissistic? Do you know that you're asking for a beating? However, this sentence also revealed that Lu Jiajin had seen through the conspiracy. Therefore, everyone couldn't help but lock their eyes on Lu Jiajin. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly and looked at the emperor. It's actually very simple. It's because I know Dong Qingyuan's character too well. Regarding this point, I guess even Dong Qingyuan himself didn't expect that I would know him so well. Speaking of this, Lu Jiajin looked at Dong Qingyuan with a mocking smile. You know him so well? Not to mention Dong Qingyuan, even the emperor was somewhat in disbelief. This was because Lu Jiajin and Dong Qingyuan didn't have much interaction. What did it mean that he knew Dong Qingyuan so well when they didn't have much interaction? It meant that this person's observation skills were extremely terrifying. I don't dare to say that I know everything. But I do know most of it. Dong Qingyuan seems to be easygoing and approachable, but in fact, he's narrow-minded and can't tolerate being offended by others. Moreover, he's ruthless and will do anything to get what he wants. Similarly, he's also done some research on us brothers. We're also vengeful people. In the 4 great continents, in order to make us deal with Qin Feiyang, he actually killed our relatives to trigger the anger in our hearts. If it weren't for the fact that someone recorded this scene at that time, we might have been kept in the dark for the rest of our lives. The hatred of killing one's father is irreconcilable. He knows. We definitely won't let them go. Moreover, during this period of time, we forced him to almost self-destruct. Later, you let us take over the 10th team, and the threat to him is getting greater. Therefore, I expect that he will definitely find a way to get rid of us. Lu Jiajin said calmly. He had prepared these words in advance. This was because he knew that someone would definitely ask. Even so, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with what happened today. After all, the person who lured you to the fiery mountain today was Dong Cha, not Dong Qingyuan himself. The Moon Fairy Princess was suspicious. No. It's precisely because it's Dong Cha that I can easily tell that this is a conspiracy. Lu Jiajin shook his head. What do you mean? The Moon Fairy Princess was full of curiosity. First, some time ago, we brothers went to look for him, hoping that the experts with Will of Heaven from his clan could join our 10th team. However, at that time, he didn't agree no matter what. But not long ago, he suddenly sent a message to Dong Yuming, saying that he changed his mind and asked us to meet him. Isn't this very strange? Because everyone is well aware that the reason Dong Cha refused us was because Dong Qingyuan had given him a heads up. Isn't he afraid of Dong Qingyuan's revenge? Of course he's afraid. After all, he's only the patriarch of a direct family, and Dong Qingyuan is the commander of the Death God army. I'm afraid that he wouldn't dare to betray Dong Qingyuan even if a knife was held to his neck. Moreover, Dong Qingyuan is the teacher of his daughter, Dong Qin. Therefore, when I received Dong Yuming's message, I guessed that this matter might not be so simple. It's very likely that Dong Qingyuan is behind Dong Cha's actions. Lu Jiajin spoke slowly and with assurance. He was like a wise man, which was admirable. Chapter 4470. Impressive. The Moon Fairy Princess gave him a thumbs up. She was able to deduce the mastermind behind all of this. Of course. That's one of the reasons. Secondly, when we arrived at the city lord's mansion and saw Dong Cha, he gave us two conditions. Firstly, he asked us to rescue his daughter, Dong Qin. Secondly, he asked the juniors of his clan to become reserve members of our Death God army. At first glance, these two conditions don't seem to have any problems, but if you think about it carefully, they're actually full of loopholes. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly. Loopholes? The Moon Fairy Princess was stunned. What loopholes could there be? It was normal. After all, Lu Yunfeng and his brother were the commanders of the 10th Squad. It wasn't a problem to ask them to rescue Dong Qin and let the juniors of their clan become reserve members of the Death God army. Your Highness, I'm sure you're thinking that the conditions he proposed are all reasonable. After all, we brothers do indeed have the ability to help him. But think about his relationship with Dong Qingyuan. His daughter is Dong Qingyuan's teacher. With this relationship, if he wants the juniors of his clan to become reserve members of the Death God army, he can just go to Dong Qingyuan. As the commander of the Death God army, Dong Qingyuan's status and power are above us. Why would Dong Cha go to us for help? A slightly normal person would also go to Dong Qingyuan directly. Lu Jiajin smiled. The Moon Fairy Princess was stunned. Lu Jiajin's words really didn't seem to make sense. As for asking us to rescue Dong Qin, Dong Cha might think it's a reasonable excuse, but in my opinion, it's a joke. Because we're all members of the Central Dynasty. Even if he doesn't ask, we'll still do our best to rescue her. Now that he's said it, isn't it like drawing legs on a snake? What's even more ridiculous is that he's using the hiding place of Qin Feiyang and the others as a condition of exchange. If he really knows where Qin Feiyang and the others are hiding, he would have reported it to the emperor as soon as possible. After all, this is a great merit. A slightly normal person wouldn't let go of such an opportunity. You said he's a fool? If he was really stupid, how could he become the patriarch of the first direct family? Lu Jiajin smiled. Dong Cha said in a low voice, but I clearly said at that time that I wanted to give this opportunity to you. Yes. You did say that. But do you think I'll believe you? If we really want to rescue your daughter, do you think we have a higher chance of success? Or do you think we have a higher chance of success if we report to the emperor and get the entire Death God army to rescue your daughter? I'm afraid even an idiot can think of that. Or could it be that in your eyes, we brothers are even worse than fools? Otherwise, why would you try to trick us like this? Lu Jiajin sneered. When Dong Cha finished hearing these words, he could not help collapsing onto the ground. The reason and excuse that he thought was flawless was unexpectedly full of loopholes in front of this person. Lu Jiajin raised his head to look at the emperor and said with a smile, all in all, I can conclude that this may be a conspiracy. The final outcome is not disappointing. The emperor took a deep breath. This young man was indeed a talented general. This terrifying insight and astonishing judgment simply made people tremble in fear. Talent. Really a talent. But Dong Qingyuan and these bastards almost made him lose this talent. How should you be punished? The emperor shouted angrily. Your Majesty, this was Dong Cha's idea. We were all instigated by him. Your Majesty, please investigate clearly. The group of people suddenly trembled and crawled on the ground, trembling. Your Majesty. They are slandering us. Your Majesty, please investigate clearly. Dong Cha also hurriedly shouted. He could not become a scapegoat. Because once he became a scapegoat, he would be in a situation where he would die. At most, he would be an accomplice. Glancing at the group of people, the emperor fell into silence, and the hall became dead silent. No one knew how long had passed. Men. Suddenly. The emperor said. In an instant, Dong Cha, Dong Hanzong, Dong Qingyuan, and the 9 commanders' hearts were in their throats. How would the emperor rule? As the door opened, the 2 middle-aged men outside strode in and knelt on one knee. The head of the first direct family, Dong Cha, instigated Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders to murder Lu Yunfeng and his brother. His crime is punishable by death. 3 days later, bring him to the punishment platform and behead him in public as a warning to others. This order immediately aroused the dissatisfaction of the inner demons. He suddenly stood up, his face full of anger. Dong Qingyuan and the others were the masterminds. Why did they push all the blame to Dong Cha? But before the inner demons could speak, Lu Jiajin grabbed his hand and pulled him back. What are you doing? The inner demons raised his eyebrows. Don't be too agitated. It's an expected outcome. Lu Jiajin transmitted his voice. The emperor looked at the inner demons and asked, Lu Yuntian, you stood up. Do you have any objections to my ruling? Of course we have no objections to your majesty's ruling. The inner demons didn't speak. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly. There was one more thing he didn't say. You are the emperor of the central dynasty, the son of the ruler of the divine kingdom. Who dares to object to your ruling? But the inner demons were not convinced. It wasn't easy to seize this opportunity, but in the end, Dong Cha became the scapegoat. He looked at Dong Cha again. His whole body was paralyzed on the ground in despair. He wanted to continue to redress the injustice and explain. But he also knew that the emperor was deliberately favoring Dong Qingyuan and the others. Because, whether it was Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, or the 9 commanders, they were all more valuable than him, the head of the direct family. To put it bluntly, the emperor was abandoning the rook to save the king. He was undoubtedly the rook that was abandoned. Your Majesty is wise. Dong Qingyuan and the others were wild with joy and repeatedly thanked the emperor. As expected. The emperor was still on their side. But the 2 middle-aged men were a little confused. Dong Cha instigated Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders to murder Lu Yunfeng and his brother? What kind of joke was this? Dong Cha was just the head of a direct family. How could he instigate these 11 people? What was going on? The emperor continued, as for Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders, as accomplices to the murder of Lu Yunfeng and his brother, they can be exempted from death, but they can't escape punishment. We are willing to be punished. The 11 people knelt in unison. The emperor was already protecting them, so of course they had to be tactful. Dong Qingyuan, you are punished to hand over your origin energy and go to the punishment platform to repent and apologize to Lu Yunfeng and his brother in public. Dong Hanzong, you are stripped of your title as a peerless genius and also go to the punishment platform to apologize to Lu Yunfeng and his brother in public. The 9 commanders will retain their positions as commanders, but their real power will be taken over by Princess Yuxian. You are punished to go back and reflect on your mistakes for 3 years. After 3 years, if your performance is good, your real power will be returned to you. Similarly, before you reflect on your mistakes, you will also go to the punishment platform to apologize to Lu Yunfeng and his brother in public. The emperor said. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your mercy. We will remember this lesson. In the future, we will always maintain a calm mind and not be bewitched by evil people. The 11 people knelt on the ground and thanked the emperor. They were secretly delighted. Lu Yunfeng, Lu Yuntian, did you see that? Even if the emperor knows the truth, he will not kill us because we are the emperor's clansmen, and you are just outsiders. Preposterous. Preposterous. The inner demons were mad and furious. The emperor's favoritism towards these people was really blatant. He did not hide it at all. Lu Jiajin's expression was very calm. It was as if no matter what happened, it would not affect his state of mind. Above. Princess Yuxian could not help but sigh when she saw her father's attitude. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Dong Cha did not have the ability to do so, but there was no other way. Who asked him to be the least valuable? They could only sacrifice him to protect those who were more valuable. Although it was a little cruel, they had to make a choice at this time. Take Dong Cha away. The emperor waved his hand. Yes. Two middle-aged men stood up and supported Dong Cha, who was paralyzed on the ground with an ashen face, then turned and strode away. I don't want to see this kind of thing happen again. The emperor looked at Dong Qingyuan and the others and said. Yes. The group of people bowed and replied. Then, the emperor stood up, glanced at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin, then stepped out and disappeared outside the door. Phew. Dong Qingyuan and the others finally heaved a sigh of relief. Dong Hanzong turned his head and looked at the two people in his heart. His eyes were full of pride, and he said with a smile, both of you, are you satisfied with this result? The inner demon's bad temper was about to explode on the spot, but Lu Jiajin stopped him. But don't worry, 3 days later, we will definitely go to the punishment platform as scheduled and apologize to you in public. At that time, I hope both of you can be magnanimous and forgive us. Dong Hanzong chuckled. As long as you're happy. Lu Jiajin smiled, as if nothing had happened. Trying to use this to anger him? How could that be possible? Dong Hanzong laughed and ignored the two people. He raised his head and looked at the Moon Fairy Princess, who was standing on the platform. He cupped his hands and said, Your Highness, a few days ago, I found a place with great scenery. I wonder if I can have the honor of inviting Your Highness to go sightseeing with us. Get lost. But what he got in response was just a simple word. Dong Hanzong's smile froze. He suppressed the anger in his heart and said with a smile, It's okay, I'll invite Your Highness again when she's free. After that, he turned around and left with a gloomy face. Dong Qingyuan and the 9 great commanders looked at the 2 inner demons with a sneer, then turned around and left. Their proud attitude almost made the inner demons go berserk. In the main hall. At this moment, only the inner demons, Lu Jiajin, and the Moon Fairy Princess were left. The Moon Fairy Princess walked down and asked, Do you hate my father very much now? Nonsense. Can't you see with such big eyes? The inner demons said angrily. I'm in a bad mood now, so you better not provoke me. Otherwise, even if you're the Emperor's beloved daughter, I'll still beat you up. The Moon Fairy Princess stared at the inner demons angrily. Chapter 44-71. What's wrong? I'm not happy. Can't I throw a tantrum? What a joke. The Emperor of the Central Dynasty is actually so unreasonable. I don't want to be the commander anymore. You can find whoever you want. After saying that, the inner demons quietly put away the divine voice transmission stone in his hand, opened a space-time tunnel, and left without looking back. Dong Qingyuan was punished to hand over his origin energy. Dong Hanzong was punished to lose his title as a peerless genius. The 9 commanders were punished to reflect on their mistakes and temporarily hand over their real power for 3 years. What kind of punishment was this? It was not a big deal at all. As for going to the punishment platform and apologizing in front of everyone, it was a joke. Just thinking about it made him angry. In such a situation, even if he was biased, he should have removed Dong Qingyuan from his position as the commander of the 9 commanders. He should not have been too biased. Why is this guy like this? In such a situation, he must be protecting the more valuable people. The Moon Fairy Princess glared at the inner demon's back that was about to disappear. Protecting the more valuable people, Lu Jiajin murmured and shook his head. So that's what your highness thinks. I've learned my lesson. I won't disturb your highness anymore. I'll take my leave. After he finished speaking, he did not pay any attention to the Moon Fairy Princess, who had an ugly expression on her face. He opened a space-time tunnel and left without looking back. Why are they all like this? I know you've been wronged, but you're all men. Can't you be more magnanimous? The Moon Fairy Princess stomped her feet in anger. Instead, she seemed to be the one who had been wronged. Clang! Soon. The loud sound of a bell pierced through the clouds and reverberated in the sky of the Central Dynasty for a long time. The sound of the bell shocked almost all living beings. This bell, it sounds like the punishment platform. The sky bell, once the sky bell rings, someone will go to the punishment platform. It means that as long as the sky bell rings, someone will go to the punishment platform. The last time the sky bell rang was a few million years ago to kill an unpardonable villain. Who will be executed this time? I haven't heard of any villains over the years. Could it be Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, Golden-Winged Wolf King, and Sea Lion Demon King? The Death God army has captured them alive and is preparing to behead them in 3 days? Let's go take a look. For a time, the various cities were abuzz with discussion. Countless living beings rushed toward the punishment platform. The punishment platform was located at the peak of a mountain called the Devil's Peak. It was located between the 10 great direct descendant clans, and it was specially used to execute those who were wicked beyond redemption. Most people wouldn't even have the chance to step onto the punishment platform. 3 days passed quickly. The Devil Peak was surrounded by majestic mountains, lush greenery, and ferocious beasts. However, the Devil Mountain was the most peculiar of all. The Devil Mountain was located in the center of the mountain range. The mountain was very majestic, and there were a few holes on it. From afar, it looked like a huge skull. Therefore, it was named Devil Peak. On the mountain peak, as if it had been cut by an axe, the ground was covered with ancient stone bricks. Some parts of the bricks were dark red and filled with the smell of blood. This was the result of countless beheadings. Blood splattered everywhere and dyed the stone bricks dark red. In the center of the mountain peak, there was a stone platform that was tens of meters tall. It was cylindrical, and there was something similar to a threshold above it. In the middle of it, there was a guillotine. This guillotine was used for beheading. Its entire body was dark red, and it was unknown how many living beings it had beheaded. It was full of killing intent. At this moment, countless figures gathered in the void. There were humans, ferocious beasts, and even sea beasts that came from afar. Everyone was looking at the peak of the Devil Mountain as they discussed among themselves, causing the place to be extremely noisy. I dare to bet. The target of beheading must be one of Qin Feiyang's group. I think so too. Because only they are worthy of being beheaded at the punishment platform. Wang. Noon. A space-time tunnel appeared on the mountain peak. In an instant, the eyes of all living beings were locked on the space-time tunnel. Figures appeared one after another. The ones in the lead were Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders. Did you see that? Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders of the Death God army have all come to the punishment platform. With such a big formation, they must be here to behead Qin Feiyang's group. Finally, we can get rid of these scourges. Our central dynasty can finally restore peace. Someone chuckled. However, just as everyone was excited, 2 middle-aged men in purple gold divine armor suddenly carried Dong Cha, who was in a sorry state and whose eyes were empty, out of the space-time tunnel. What's the situation? Why isn't it Qin Feiyang's group? This person is, I know him. He's the patriarch of the number 1 direct family, the father of one of the 5 great geniuses, Dong Qin, Dong Cha. Dong Cha? How could it be him? Look at his lifeless appearance. Could it be that he is going to be beheaded? This can't be right. How could he be beheaded? Everyone's face was filled with disbelief. Head of the family, there were people from the first direct family in the crowd. They clenched their hands tightly, their eyes full of anger. There were many insiders in the first direct family, such as the experts of the will of heaven. Before Dong Cha took action, he had reported to them. So, they knew all the truth. They also knew that the emperor was going to abandon the head of the family to protect Dong Qingyuan and the others. However, even if they knew the truth, they wouldn't dare to do anything. Because this was the emperor's order. If they dared to act rashly and announce the truth to the world, the emperor would definitely not let them off easily. Because the support of their family, the peerless genius Dong Qin, had now fallen into the hands of Qin Feiyang and had no right to speak. Soon, the two middle-aged men then escorted Dong Ping onto the stone platform. Dong Cha's cultivation had been destroyed and he was restrained by the pressure. Standing under the guillotine, he looked at the creatures around him with empty eyes, full of sadness. If he had known this would happen, why did he do it? In the past 3 days, the two men had already understood the situation clearly. They stood on the platform and announced Dong Cha's crimes loudly. What? Dong Cha is so bold that he actually instigated Dong Hanzong, Dong Qingyuan, and the 9 great commanders to murder Lu Yunfeng and his brother? This is impossible. He's just the head of a direct family. Where did he get such courage from? Is there something else behind this? When everyone heard this, they were all surprised. Although the two men said it methodically, it was still hard to believe. Kill. A moment later. After announcing Dong Cha's crimes, the two men roared, and the guillotine hanging in the air suddenly fell. I can't accept this, daughter. If you're still alive, if you can hear me, you must remember to kill Dong Hanzong, Dong Qingyuan, and the 9 great commanders to avenge your father. Seeing the guillotine fall, Dong Cha suddenly roared to the sky, telling the injustice and anger in his heart. Boom! Before he finished speaking, the guillotine fell, erupting with a destructive power. Dong Cha screamed and died on the spot. His blood dyed the surroundings red. Head of the family, the clansmen hiding in the crowd cried out sorrowfully in their hearts. After hearing Dong Cha's roar before his death, everyone was even more convinced that there was something else behind this. Dong Cha instigated Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 great commanders. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't make sense. Wait. Could it be? Some people seem to have thought of something. They looked at Dong Qingyuan and the others standing on the mountain peak, their eyes full of shock. This Dong Cha should be the scapegoat. However, even if someone figured this out, they would at most show sympathy and not dare to say it out loud. This was because they all knew that the person behind this was the emperor. In the face of the emperor's judgment, even if they were wronged, no one dared to say anything. It's our turn. Dong Hanzong smiled. But I don't seem to see them. Dong Yuerong scanned the sea of people around her. Indeed, she didn't see the inner demons. Maybe they're very angry with this result, so they didn't come. Dong Kun laughed mockingly. Dong Qingyuan laughed secretly. Whether they come or not, we have to put on a show to prove that we've really turned over a new leaf. Immediately. The group of people then pretended to repent and apologize. He displayed his hypocritical side to the fullest. At the same time, not far away, on a mountain peak, 2 figures stood silently in the crowd. Their auras were completely absent, and their faces were extremely unfamiliar. Have you recorded everything? One of them transmitted his voice. Yes. The other person nodded. There was a transmission stone in his hand. Then let's go. Find a place and send the 2 videos to my little cousin. That's right. The two of them were really the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. After Lu Jiajin finished speaking, he turned around and left quickly. You guys can be proud for now. Soon, you will experience how terrible a woman's anger will be. The inner demons laughed and also turned around and left. Not long after. Black Tortoise Realm. Qin Feiyang, the madman, the white-eyed wolf, and Long Qin gathered in the tea garden. In the void in front of them, there was an image displayed. It was the image of Dong Hanzong and a group of people trapping Dong Cha in the imperial palace. The four of them were fascinated by it. They really didn't expect that during this period of time, such a big thing had happened outside. In the end, when they saw the image of Dong Cha being beheaded, Qin Feiyang picked up the teacup, took a sip of tea, and looked at the madman and the other two with a smile. Do you know the purpose of the inner demons and big cousin sending these two videos to us? Do you still need to think about it? They definitely want us to enjoy a good show. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Idiot. Long Qin despised him. The white-eyed wolf was about to fly into a rage, but suddenly he seemed to think of something. He fell silent again and drank by himself. Since he said not to bicker with this woman, then he had to do it. Long Qin looked at the silent white-eyed wolf, and there was a trace of disappointment in his heart. You really don't understand the meaning of the inner demons and big cousin. Qin Feiyang looked at the white-eyed wolf and smiled slightly. Then what does it mean? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he smiled faintly. The inner demons and big cousin want us to show these two videos to Dong Qin. Think about it, when Dong Qin sees these videos, especially when she hears the roar before Dong Cha's death, what choice will Dong Qin make? The white-eyed wolf lowered his head and tormented for a while, and his eyes suddenly lit up. I see, it seems that we are about to have a powerful partner. That's right. Dong Qin has mastered the great heaven domain. She doesn't need to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death to have two wills of the heavenly Tao. For us, she is indeed a very powerful partner. Qin Feiyang laughed, got up and looked at the three. Let's go to the Soul Sealing Valley to welcome our new partner. Chapter 44-72. Soul Sealing Valley. It was as stinky as ever. Dong Qin was suppressed in the Soul Sealing Valley. She had long lost her vitality and was like a walking corpse. Even when Qin Feiyang and the other three arrived, she acted as if she didn't see them. So pitiful. A lifetime of happiness, the wrong person. Long Qin shook his head and sighed. Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Qin for a moment, and with a wave of his hand, the power of law-suppressing Dong Qin disappeared. Dong Qin finally reacted. But the next moment, she was ready to destroy her divine soul. She had had enough of this torturous life. She might as well choose death. Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "You have to think carefully. If you choose death now, then no one will avenge your father." Dong Qin was slightly taken aback. She looked up at Qin Feiyang and asked, "What do you mean?" "I mean, your father has already died an unnatural death." Qin Feiyang said indifferently. "Impossible. My father is the patriarch of the first direct family. Even if his strength is not much, there are still many powerhouses in the family with the will of heaven. Moreover, brother Hanzong is also taking care of him for me. How could he die an unnatural death?" Dong Qin shook her head. It must be Qin Feiyang and the others lying to her. They wanted to destroy her will and make her betray the central dynasty and the divine kingdom. Dong Hanzong will take care of him for you. Aren't you too naive? White-eyed wolf sneered. You are not allowed to slander brother Hanzong. Dong Qin said angrily. Sure enough, a pitiful person must have something hateful. This saying is not false at all. Lunatic shook his head. This woman was like a demon, unreasonable. If it weren't for the fact that she had the great heaven domain, they wouldn't have bothered to waste this effort. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Long Qin and said with a smile, "Little Qin, take her to clean up first. After cleaning, bring her to the tea garden." It was definitely not convenient for the few of them to do this kind of thing. Okay. Long Qin nodded. Holding his breath, he led Dong Qin out of Soul Ceiling Valley. Qin Feiyang scanned the Soul Ceiling Valley and said jokingly, "I really hope that Dong Qingyuan, the Kunpeng, the Dragon God, the Emperor, and the ruler of the Divine Kingdom can also experience the taste of the Soul Ceiling Valley. There will be a chance." The white-eyed wolf and madman bared their teeth. Whoosh! The three returned to the Devil's Land. What does Longchen mean? Ever since I grasped the will of the heavenly Tao, I have been sitting cross-legged in the sky. The white-eyed wolf looked up at Longchen, his eyes full of suspicion. It could be said that he was fusing with the inheritance, but he didn't take it out. It could be said that he was cultivating, but at this stage, other than fusing with the inheritance, what else could he cultivate? Who knows? However, I have a premonition that when Longchen comes out of seclusion, his strength may increase greatly. Madman whispered. Although the current Longchen's aura was ethereal and there was no sense of crisis on the surface, every time he saw Longchen, he couldn't help but feel a sense of horror in his heart. It was like a sleeping beast. Time passed bit by bit. About half an hour later, a source of power descended and disappeared in a certain place of the Black Tortoise world. What's the situation? Why is there a source of power descending? Madman was shocked. Qin Feiyang was also surprised. The source of the Black Tortoise world could only be controlled by that brat. He hurriedly closed his eyes and released his perception. But soon, the corner of his mouth twitched as he hurriedly withdrew his perception with an extremely awkward expression. What's wrong? Madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at him in confusion. Cough cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly, poured a cup of tea, and said with a smile, "Maybe Dong Qin has been suppressed in the Soul Ceiling Valley for too long and couldn't get rid of the stench on her body, so Long Qin summoned that brat and used his source of power to purify the stench on her body." The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. This was too extravagant. He actually used the source of power to purify the stench on Dong Qin's body. Madman rolled his eyes and joked, "Look at your awkward expression, did you see Dong Qin naked?" Cough. Qin Feiyang lowered his head to hide the awkwardness in his expression. As the ruler of the Black Tortoise world, it's really great. You can see whatever you want and the key is that others don't know. Tell me honestly, do you often hide in the castle and peek at women bathing? Madman smiled evilly. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Was he such a person? This was purely an accident. Another moment passed. As a space-time passage opened, two beautiful figures walked out. It was Long Qin and Dong Qin. Needless to say, this Dong Qin had an exquisite figure that could captivate fish and beasts. Now that she had changed into a clean snow-white dress, she was indeed somewhat beautiful. Sit. Qin Feiyang pointed to the stone bench opposite him. Dong Qin swept her gaze across the Devil's Land. This was the first time she had seriously sized up the Devil's Land. All kinds of medicinal herbs swayed in the wind. The energy of the crystal veins and spirit veins was shockingly rich. The entire land was shrouded in clouds and mist. How did this look like the Devil's Land? It wasn't an exaggeration to call it a paradise. However, the people who lived here were a group of real devils. Sit down and have a cup of tea. We'll show you something. Qin Feiyang said with a smile as he poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of Dong Qin. Dong Qin sat opposite him. Looking at the teacup, she said with a cold face, "Don't be wishy-washy, be straightforward. You're still impatient? I advise you to be mentally prepared, because what you're about to see might exceed the limits of what you can bear." Madman laughed. "It's not a possibility, it's a certainty." White-Eyed Wolf added. When Dong Qin heard the words of the two, she couldn't help but be shocked. What was the next thing she was going to see? With a bewildered state of mind, she picked up the teacup and took a sip. Then, she closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Looking at Qin Feiyang, she said, "Let's begin." Qin Feiyang took out the sound transmission God Stone. With a wave of his hand, the first video slowly unfolded in the void. Teacher, Emperor, Princess Yuxian, Brother Hanzong, Father, what's going on? This seems to be the Imperial Palace. Why is Father in the Imperial Palace? Dong Qin was suddenly surprised. But the following conversation made her mood fall into a cold abyss step by step. How could this be? How could Father do such a thing? Her heart was filled with disbelief. Especially when she saw Dong Hanzong say that Dong Cha was the mastermind and that he had never liked her. It had always been her own wishful thinking. Suddenly, it was like a bolt from the blue, rumbling in her mind. Why, Brother Hanzong, why are you doing this to me? Was it only my own wishful thinking all this time? Do you have no feelings for me at all? Finally. Following the Emperor's verdict, Dong Qin suddenly stood up, her eyes wide with anger. He wanted to behead her father. This is impossible. How could my father have the courage to murder Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian? Moreover, with his status, how could he instigate Teacher and the 9 great commanders? Her face was filled with disbelief. Of course it couldn't be your father. Your father is just an accomplice. The real mastermind is Dong Qingyuan. But because the matter was exposed, your father became the scapegoat. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. What about the Emperor? Doesn't he know? Dong Qin said angrily. Of course the Emperor knows. But in order to protect Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 great commanders, he had to sacrifice your father. To put it bluntly, Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 great commanders are more valuable than your father, so it's natural that your father became the scapegoat. Qin Feiyang said. Dong Qin clenched her fists tightly. She stared at Qin Feiyang and said anxiously, I have to save my father. I can't watch him be beheaded like this. It's too late. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. With a wave of his hand, the second image appeared. It was the image of Dong Cha being beheaded. Father. Seeing the guillotine falling, Dong Qin fell into a frenzy. Her hands flailed wildly, grabbing at the air as if she was trying to catch the guillotine. But it was useless. She could only watch as the guillotine fell. She could only watch as her father's blood splattered on the spot. I can't accept this, daughter. If you're still alive, if you can hear me, you must remember to kill Dong Hanzong, Dong Qingyuan, and the 9 great commanders to avenge your father. Only this indignant roar was left, echoing in the air for a long time. Father, Dong Qin knelt on the ground in despair, crying weakly. Why did it become like this? Dong Hanzong, I was infatuated with you. Why did you treat me and my father like this? Dong Qingyuan, I treated you as my teacher. Is this how you repay me? Father, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, it's your daughter who killed you. Back then, I should have listened to you and left Dong Hanzong. I should have left that heartless bastard. Father, I'm sorry. She lay on the ground in pain, crying bitterly. Her heart sank into the abyss of self-blame. It was all because of her willfulness and naivety that she allowed Dong Hanzong into her life. Otherwise, why would her father trust Dong Hanzong so much? All of this was caused by her. Sigh. Qin Feiyang and the other three could not help but sigh inwardly. Even though this was the second time they had seen these two images, they still could not calm down. The 9 great commanders were in the lead. After all, they did not have a deep relationship with Dong Qin. However, Dong Qingyuan and Dong Hanzong, one was Dong Qin's teacher, while the other was the man she was infatuated with. In the end, they both betrayed her and made Dong Qin's biological father their scapegoat. How could they be so selfish and ruthless? Chapter 44-73. After a long time, Dong Qin finally calmed down and looked up at Qin Feiyang and the other three. At this time, the look in Dong Qin's eyes scared Qin Feiyang and the other three. Her eyes were blood-red without any emotion, revealing a terrible ruthlessness and indifference. "I want revenge," she said slowly. Her tone was bone-chilling. The four looked at each other. It seemed that this change had made Dong Qin completely cut off everything, and only hatred was left in her eyes. "Revenge," Qin Feiyang murmured and said with a faint smile, "Do you know that the enemies you are facing now are Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, the 9 commanders, and even the emperor?" "I know." Dong Qin nodded. Qin Feiyang thought, "Since you know, you should know that with your own strength, you will never be able to avenge your father." "I know. But I have to do something. Even if I die, I will never back down." Dong Qin clenched her hands tightly, murderous intent surging from her body. She had never thought that her biological father would be in the hands of her most respected teacher, the man she liked the most. In fact, she had struggled before in her heart. However, Dong Cha's roar before his death had been floating in her mind. If she still couldn't cut off all this until now, how could she face her father who gave birth to her and raised her? If her father knew in the underworld, he would never be able to rest in peace. "We can understand that you are eager to take revenge, but don't lose your mind. In fact, you have a better choice." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "What choice?" Dong Qin looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled, "Join forces with us, we can help you take revenge." Hearing this, Dong Qin fell silent. "To tell you the truth, I haven't killed you because I want to have a chance to persuade you to join our big family. Because with you, our strength will be stronger. Unfortunately, after being in the Central Dynasty for so long, we haven't thought of a reason to persuade you. However, who would have thought that Emperor Monarch, Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong and the 9 Grand Commanders would actually present this opportunity to us? You have been in the Black Tortoise realm for so many years. You should understand our character and conduct. Although we are weak, we are loyal. We will never betray or abandon our companions." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Dong Qin looked conflicted. If she cooperated with Qin Feiyang and the others, it would be a declaration that she had completely betrayed the Divine Kingdom. What's there for you to miss in such a divine kingdom? Also, do you think Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan will let your other family members go so easily? The white-eyed wolf sneered. Dong Qin looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. Colluding with Dong Qingyuan and the others to murder brother Lu Yunfeng is no small matter. I believe that your father must have asked the elders in your clan. In other words, there are many people in your clan who know the truth of this matter. These people will definitely think of ways to avenge your father. Dong Qingyuan and Dong Hanzong are shrewd people. They must have thought of this as well. Therefore, to prevent future troubles, they will definitely think of ways to deal with your family members. They might even exterminate them. The white-eyed wolf said in a deep voice. Dong Qin couldn't help but tremble when she heard this. If this was really the case, then even if she apologized with her life, she wouldn't be able to ease the pain and guilt in her heart. What should I do? She looked helplessly at Qin Feiyang and the others. The white-eyed wolf said indifferently, "You didn't agree to follow us. Why should we help you? We won't help an outsider for no reason." Dong Qin was burning with anxiety. She looked at Qin Feiyang for help, but Qin Feiyang lowered his head and drank his tea. She looked at the madman and Long Qin. Madman also drank without saying a word. Long Qin played with the yin and yang ring on his finger. Who? A moment later. Dong Qin took a deep breath. That's right. Such a central dynasty, such a divine kingdom, there was nothing to miss. Even if the divine kingdom's ruler blamed her, she could still say righteously that she betrayed the divine kingdom because it was forced by his own son, the emperor. Okay. I will cooperate with you. Dong Qin nodded. She finally understood. He straightforwardly made a blood oath. As the oath descended, Qin Feiyang and the others finally looked up with a smile. The madman reached out his hand and bared his teeth. Welcome our new partners. Dong Qin glared at the madman and slapped his hand away. She urged, help me think of a way to save my family members. This matter is very simple. The madman chuckled. Simple? Dong Qin was stunned. That's right. It can be done in minutes. The madman smiled confidently. Don't keep me in suspense, okay? Tell me quickly. Dong Qin was impatient. If it wasn't for the fact that her sea of qi hadn't recovered yet, she really wanted to beat this guy up. The madman asked, right now, Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders, who are they most afraid of? The person they are most afraid of, Dong Qin pondered for a moment and asked, the emperor? How can you be considered the emperor? The emperor is shielding them and favoring them. I'm talking about their opponents. The madman was speechless. Their opponents, figures kept flashing through Dong Qin's mind. Finally, it stopped at the figures of 2 young men. These 2 young men were Lu Jiajin and the inner demons. That's right. The people they are most afraid of now are Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian. The madman nodded. That's true, but what does this have to do with helping my family members? My father colluded with Dong Qingyuan and the others to plot against them. I'm afraid that these 2 brothers want to take revenge on my family members more than Dong Qingyuan and the others. Dong Qin said. According to common sense, this is indeed the case. Not to mention them, if it were us, if your father dared to plot against us like this, we would also crazily take revenge. But now, all of this can't be treated with common sense. The madman smiled. Can't be treated with common sense. The more Dong Qin listened, the more puzzled she became. The madman turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang. Seeing this, Dong Qin also looked at Qin Feiyang and found that there was a faint smile on Qin Feiyang's face. Looking at the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin, they were the same. At this moment, this group of people all seemed unfathomable. Suddenly, under Dong Qin's puzzled gaze, Qin Feiyang took out the divine sound transmission stone. Buzz! In a short while, the divine sound transmission stone let out a buzz, and in the next moment, 2 familiar figures appeared. Lu Yunfeng, Lu Yuntian. Dong Qin looked at the 2 inner demons in shock. What was going on? Why could Qin Feiyang contact these 2 people? At the same time, the 2 inner demons looked at Dong Qin, who was standing beside Qin Feiyang and the others, with a smile in their eyes. The inner demons bared their teeth and said, "You dare to send us a message in front of Dong Qin, it seems that you have convinced her." Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. What's going on? Have you also betrayed the divine kingdom? Dong Qin was very surprised. Now their attitude, how could they be enemies? They were simply old friends for many years. No. Looking at the smiles and eyes on each other, they were more like close relatives. Let me formally introduce. This Lu Yunfeng in your eyes is actually my eldest cousin, his real name is Lu Jiajin. And this Lu Yuntian in your eyes is actually my inner demons. However, although he is an inner demon, he has already passed the tribulation, and now he is a person with an independent character. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. What? Eldest cousin. Inner demons. Dong Qin's eyes were dull. This was completely beyond her imagination. These two powerful people, who were trusted by the emperor, were Qin Feiyang's relatives. If that was the case, wouldn't the owners of the 10 most powerful fighting souls be around Qin Feiyang? Terrifying. Really terrifying. The white-eyed wolf grinned and said, now you know why we can do so well even if we enter the central dynasty. Dong Qin glanced at the white-eyed wolf, and then looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin again. This terrible fact really made her scalp tingle. If they were just ordinary people, it wouldn't matter. But the key point was, this inner demon and Lu Jiajin were both monstrously talented and powerful people. If nothing went wrong, he would be able to wield great power in the central dynasty in the future and become a supreme overlord. The crazy man smiled and said, they are now the commander and vice-commander of the 10th squad of the Death God Army. What? Dong Qin's shock could no longer be described with words. Becoming the commander of the Death God Army was basically standing at the peak of the Divine Kingdom, and there were only a few people who could suppress them. Therefore, as long as your clansmen agree to join the 10th squad and become members of the 10th squad, XINMO and Big Cousin will be able to protect them as their commander and vice-commander. The white-eyed wolf said. This, will they agree to help? Dong Qin looked at Qin Feiyang and the others hesitantly. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly and said, if you really want to cooperate with us, of course we will help you. But my father, Dong Qin couldn't believe it. So easy to talk to? This was completely different from the Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian she remembered. A man's death is like a lamp being extinguished. Your father has already received his retribution, and there is no need for us to vent our anger on your people. Let's talk about it later. Now that you've cooperated with us, it's only natural for us to protect your people. However, it is useless for us to agree. First of all, your people must be willing to join our 10th squad. Otherwise, it will be unjustifiable for us to protect them. Besides, Dong Qingyuan and the others are not stupid. If we help your people for no reason, it will definitely arouse their suspicion. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly. As long as you agree to help, I will arrange this matter. Dong Qin hurriedly said. All right. But as soon as possible. Because Dong Hanzong is not a benevolent person. Moreover, this person is very ambitious. He is interested in the Moon Fairy Princess. Lu Jiajin chuckled. Chapter 44-74. Is he interested in Princess Moon Fairy? The four of them were stunned. They had seen Princess Moon Fairy in the video. She was indeed a beauty that could topple a country. Moreover, she was the apple of the Emperor's eye, the granddaughter of the ruler of the Divine Kingdom. She had a noble identity and an extraordinary status. If he could marry her, even if he was a nobody, he would be able to achieve meteoric success in an instant. At the same time, hearing Lu Jiajin's words, Dong Qin's eyes trembled slightly, and her face turned pale. Yes. We saw it with our own eyes. He even wanted to invite Princess Moon Fairy to play in front of us, but Princess Moon Fairy looked down on him and coldly told him to scram. The inner demons laughed. Huh, it would appear that this moon immortal princess is a rather intelligent woman. The mad demon laughed. Dong Qin's body trembled, and she muttered, "Does he mean that I'm not smart enough?" Indeed, the mad demon could not be blamed for laughing at her. She was indeed not smart enough. Because if she was smarter, she would not have been deceived by Dong Hanzong's flowery words. The reason Dong Hanzong was with her was that he wanted to use the power of her family to reach a higher level. In other words, he was just using her. Once she lost her value, Dong Hanzong would heartlessly abandon her and run to find the next target that could help him to fulfill his ambition step by step. Why was she so stupid in the past? Why did he have to wait until now to be enlightened? If she had realized it earlier, perhaps her father would not have suffered such a calamity. Your father's death really has nothing to do with you. This is the fault of his own making. Qin Feiyang saw the self-blame in Dong Qin's heart and comforted her. It has something to do with it. This is my fault. Because of my feelings for Dong Hanzong and my respect for Dong Qingyuan, my father trusted them so much. Otherwise, he would have definitely kept a distance from Dong Hanzong and Dong Qingyuan. Today's incident would not have happened. Dong Qin shook her head. Do as you wish. Qin Feiyang could not persuade her any more. Because human nature was like this, once they fell into this state, no one could persuade them. Arrange it as soon as possible. Lu Jiajin looked at Dong Qin and said. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Little cousin, Dong Tianqian, Dong Ping, and Dong Xian, what do you plan to do with them? I still don't know their attitude. Wait for me to come out of seclusion and meet them before making a decision." Qin Feiyang said after thinking for a while. All right. Lu Jiajin nodded. The inner demons snickered. If you change your mind, let us know in advance. We will be responsible for eliminating them. With our current status, eliminating the three of them is as easy as flipping our hands. All right. Qin Feiyang believed in this. Not to mention the current status of the inner demons, just based on their strength and methods, it would be easy for them to get rid of the three of them. One more thing. Back then, I promised them that I would not harm their families for the time being. Thus, you all should not target their families for now. Qin Feiyang said. All right. Lu Jiajin and the inner demons nodded and then turned off the sound transmission stone. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at Dong Qin. He asked with a smile, "Do you need our help?" Dong Qin let out a long breath and calmed her emotions. She shook her head and said, "Not for the time being." All right. When you encounter something that you can't solve, you can send us a message. Qin Feiyang smiled and established a contract bridge with Dong Qin. Back then, they captured Dong Qin at Mount Supreme, so Dong Qin's sound transmission stone was not destroyed. After Dong Qin repaired her Qi, Qin Feiyang said a few words and then sent her out of the Black Tortoise realm. You seem to be, seeing a woman suddenly appear, the Sea Lion King, who was sitting cross-legged in the hall outside, immediately looked at Dong Qin in surprise. Isn't this one of the 5 unparalleled geniuses, Dong Qin? You are the Sea Lion King? Dong Qin also looked at the Sea Lion King. Yes. The Sea Lion King nodded. Dong Qin said, Qin Feiyang told me before that if I need any help in the future, I can ask you for help. Let's establish a contract bridge. Boss Qin? The Sea Lion King was stunned and said in surprise, could it be that you, yes. Dong Qin nodded and looked at the tip of the iceberg outside through the crack of the door. She said with emotion, just like you, now we are companions. Damn. The Sea Lion King was secretly speechless. This big brother Qin's methods were indeed impressive. He could even subdue one of the 5 unparalleled geniuses, Dong Qin. Wait. Not long ago, a guard came to report that Dong Cha was beheaded. Could Dong Qin's betrayal of the divine kingdom be related to Dong Cha's death? The Sea Lion King asked, "Did Boss Qin and the others already know that your father was beheaded?" "Yes." Dong Qin nodded. "So well informed?" "I also wanted to find a time to tell them." The Sea Lion King was surprised. "With those two here, do you still need to tell them?" Dong Qin shook her head. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin were the best spies. "Those two?" The Sea Lion King was stunned. "You still don't know?" Dong Qin was surprised. She thought that the Sea Lion King had followed Qin Feiyang and the others for so long that he already knew the true identity of Lu Yunfeng and Dong Qin. "What do I know? Could it be that you are still hiding something from us?" The Sea Lion King looked confused. "Nothing." Dong Qin waved her hand and urged, "Hurry up and establish a contract bridge with me." Since Qin Feiyang and the others deliberately hid it from the Sea Lion King, it meant that they still didn't trust the Sea Lion King, so she didn't dare to say more. After all, she was now tied to Qin Feiyang and the others. They were bound together for good or ill. "All right." The Sea Lion King took out a voice transmission stone and established a contract bridge with Dong Qin, then asked, "Don't be too sad, there's no other way. Who told your father to be so stupid to instigate Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders to deal with Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian? Don't talk nonsense if you don't know." Dong Qin angrily glared at the Sea Lion King, then directly kicked the door open and walked out without looking back. "Aren't I just concerned about you? Why are you still angry? Also, it's not appropriate for you to go out like this, it's better to change your appearance a little," the Sea Lion King reminded. Immediately after, he lowered his head and pondered. There were many rumors now that Dong Cha was just a scapegoat. Could it be that this was true? Outside, in front of the lake, Dong Qin clenched her hands, looked at the calm lake, and murmured, "Father, I will definitely avenge you, I will make them regret it for the rest of their lives." At this time, the killing intent in her heart had almost reached an uncontrollable level. "Who are you? Why are you in our city lord's mansion?" Suddenly, a voice rang out not far behind her. Dong Qin's eyes flashed, she released her perception and found that there was only one aura. In other words, there was only one person. "Ji Xiaowu, don't mess around, he is one of us." The voice of the Sea Lion King came from the courtyard. Ji Xiaowu, Dong Qin was stunned. Before leaving the Black Tortoise realm, Qin Feiyang had told her where they were now, including Ji Xiaowu. He said that Ji Xiaowu was a trustworthy person. If she wanted to leave Green Wind City, she would need Ji Xiaowu's help now. So, she did not change her appearance and turned to look at Ji Xiaowu. Ji Xiaowu looked at Dong Qin as he walked over. Gradually, there was a trace of surprise in his eyes. Why did this woman look a little familiar? Wait. It seems to be. He quickly quickened his pace and walked in front of Dong Qin, looked at her closely and said in surprise, "You are Dong Qin? You know me?" Dong Qin was stunned. "Of course. No, I don't know you, but I know you. Because you and Dong Xian are the goddesses of us ordinary people." Ji Xiaowu seemed to be very excited and was a little incoherent. Goddess, hearing these two words, there was a trace of inexplicable self-mockery on Dong Qin's face. What kind of goddess was she? As the lunatic and the white-eyed wolf said, she was a fool. "Lord Goddess, why are you in our city lord mansion? I heard that you went to the 4 great continents, it seems." Speaking of this, Ji Xiaowu's pupils suddenly shrank and he said in surprise, "Could it be that Qin Dage let you go?" "Qin Dage? You are from the Central Dynasty and you actually recognize Qin Feiyang as your big brother? Aren't you afraid of being found out and losing your life? Dong Qin frowned. This, Lord Goddess, you must keep it a secret for me. Ji Xiaowu suddenly panicked. Why was he so stupid? How could he say such words out loud? Dong Qin couldn't help but laugh and her mood seemed to be a lot better. She said, "Don't worry, we are on the same side now. Are there any members of the Death God army hiding in Green Wind City? We are on the same side." Ji Xiaowu's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that this goddess had also joined Qin Dage. Yes. There are a total of 2 dark guards. They have been hiding in the city and the entire city has been sealed by a barrier. Now even the space-time tunnel can't teleport out. Ji Xiaowu said truthfully. So troublesome? Dong Qin raised her eyebrows. If she had a real identity, it would be easy for her to leave the city. But the key was that she couldn't use her real identity now. Because everyone in the Death God army knew that she had fallen into Qin Feiyang's hands. Now that she appeared out of nowhere in Green Wind City, it would definitely cause a lot of suspicion. For example, how did she escape from Qin Feiyang's hands? Just this one question alone was not something she could answer. Because those who fell into Qin Feiyang's hands were imprisoned in the Black Tortoise world. Unless they had Qin Feiyang's permission, no one could escape from the Black Tortoise world. Goddess, are you planning to leave Green Wind City? Ji Xiaowu asked cautiously. Dong Qin nodded and said, "Don't call me goddess, just call me by my name." Hearing the title goddess, not only did she not feel happy or proud, she even felt that it was a kind of irony. How can this be? It must be a goddess. Ji Xiaowu quickly shook his head. Because to an ordinary young man like him, a proud daughter of the heavens like Dong Qin was a goddess-like figure. Do as you wish. Dong Qin smiled bitterly. Goddess, it's very simple if you want to leave Green Wind City. Although the Death God army has sealed off our Green Wind City, the guards at the city gates are our people. How about this? I'll give you a consecration token. When the time comes, as long as you show them the consecration token, they will know that you're one of them and will not interrogate you. Ji Xiaowu smiled. Okay, thanks. Dong Qin was overjoyed. This little guy is quite capable. He became the city lord of Green Wind City at such a young age and won the hearts of the people. Whether it was the guards or the maids, they were all loyal to him. Just this point alone was something that many city lords of the older generation could not compare to. Seeing Dong Qin's joyful smile and even thanking him, Ji Xiaowu suddenly felt flattered. He immediately took out a consecration token and handed it to Dong Qin. Dong Qin took it and asked, "Why are you here?" "It's nothing big, just that when I was comprehending the laws, I encountered something that I didn't understand, so I wanted to find the Archfiend King and ask him for guidance." Ji Xiaowu scratched his head and smiled embarrassedly. "So it's like that." Dong Qin nodded in understanding. She smiled and said, "In that case, go on. Qin Feiyang told me about your situation as well. Thank you for your encouragement, goddess, I will definitely work hard." With the encouragement of the goddess, Ji Xiaowu was even more motivated and immediately ran to the Sea Lion Archfiend King's courtyard. Silly, but quite cute. Dong Qin shook her head and smiled. After a conversation, her mood was indeed much better. Then, she took an illusory form pill and turned into a middle-aged woman. She took the consecration token and left the city lord's mansion. As expected. When she walked to the city gate and showed the consecration token, the guards did not say anything and directly let her go. These guards were also Ji Xiaowu's trusted subordinates. Even if the Death God army stood in front of them, they would not hesitate to choose to defend Ji Xiaowu's dignity. Chapter 44-75. Flying Dragon City. This was a city that was second only to the 10 main families. This was because this was the territory of the first main family. Dong Cha's death caused the entire family to suffer greatly. Moreover, because of Dong Cha's crime, everyone in the family was wronged and humiliated. This was because some people who did not know the truth were cursing them behind their backs, saying that they were the scum of the central dynasty. Not only were they wronged, but they also had to bear such a bad name. Therefore, everyone in the family was particularly angry. Especially the group of old antiques in the family who had the will of the heavenly path. Their hearts were filled with hatred. However, in the face of the emperor, Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders, they dared not speak out. They could only silently endure this grievance. Hurry up, hurry up. Don't dawdle. At the city gate. The 4 guards were also full of hostility, urging the people in line to be checked. First, the pillar of the family, the eldest daughter, was captured in the 4 great continents. Now, the family leader was wronged and died, so they were in a bad mood. Why are you so fierce? You inhumane scum. If I didn't have something to do in Flying Dragon City, I wouldn't have come even if you paid me to come. That's right. The dignified first main family instigated others to murder the commanders of the Death God army. Aren't you crazy? Right now, I can't help but wonder if you've already joined Qin Feiyang and become his spies. Everyone stared at the 4 guards angrily, their eyes full of contempt. Bastard! Who are you calling crazy? Who are you calling a spy? Say it again. The 4 guards were seething with anger. At first, they were just insulting them, but now, they were saying that they were spies? This was getting worse and worse. So what if we are talking about you? If you are not spies, why did you plot against Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian? They are the pillars of the central dynasty and the commanders of the Death God army. If they really die in your hands this time, it will be a great loss for the central dynasty. Think about it, what kind of behavior is this? We suspect that you are spies. What's wrong with that? People sneered. Preposterous. If you don't want to come to my Flying Dragon City, then scram. The 4 guards roared. At this moment, at the back of the crowd, a middle-aged woman was silently watching this scene. She clenched her fists tightly, her eyes burning with rage. Not only had his father died an unjust death, even his entire clan had to bear this groundless accusation. Everyone had become the target of scorn, hated by everyone. Her heart was filled with hatred. Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, 9 great commanders, just you wait. Sooner or later, I will make you pay for this. That was right. This person was Dong Qin. Seeing her clansmen being humiliated, her heart almost collapsed. But now, she had to endure. Lack of forbearance in small matters would spoil great plans. Who? She took a deep breath and calmed the anger in her heart. Then, she turned around and left, preparing to send a message to her relatives in the Flying Dragon City. If she entered the city like this, it might be risky. Because in her opinion, the guards guarding the city were not very trustworthy. Although at this moment, the 4 guards all had faces filled with righteous indignation, who knew if they were faking it or not? It was possible. They had already been bribed by Dong Hanzong, Dong Qingyuan, and the others. In short, in the current situation, she could not be the slightest bit careless. She had to take every step carefully. Whoosh! But at this moment, in the distance, an aura came. If it was just an ordinary aura, Dong Qin would definitely not care. But this aura was very familiar. This is, Dong Qin turned her head to look, and a trace of joy immediately crept into her eyes. She hurriedly rose into the air and rushed towards that figure like lightning. In the sky above a mountain outside the city, the two met. This was also a middle-aged woman wearing a plain long dress. There were wisps of white hair at her temples, and she looked slightly weathered. Moreover, there was an unconcealable worry on her face. "You are?" The plain-clothed woman looked at the person in front of her, and a trace of anger flashed in her eyes. Now, anyone dared to ride on their heads and behave atrociously? She thought that this strange woman in front of her was here to find trouble with her. "Mother, it's me." Dong Qin transmitted her voice. "N?" The plain-clothed woman was shocked. She looked at the person in front of her with a face full of disbelief. That was her daughter's voice. But wasn't her daughter in the four great continents Qin Feiyang's captive? "Mother, it's really me. I'm back." Dong Qin thought to herself. Tears of self-blame and sadness flowed from her eyes. This was because she clearly remembered that when she left the Central Dynasty, her mother did not have white hair at all. But now, the mother standing in front of her not only had white hair, but she also looked extremely haggard. Compared to the graceful and radiant mother of the past, she seemed to have aged more than 10 years. "Qin, the plain-clothed woman's eyes trembled, and 2 lines of tears flowed down uncontrollably. Dong Qin tried hard to control her emotions. She looked at the plain-clothed woman and said, "There are too many people. Let's go to your spatial divine item to talk." "Okay." The plain-clothed woman nodded and pulled Dong Qin into a stone room instantly. In the stone room, apart from a praying mat used for cultivation, there was nothing else in the room. Dong Qin was not unfamiliar with this spatial divine item at all because she had been here countless times. "Is it really you?" "Qin, The plain-clothed woman still could not believe it. "It's me." Dong Qin nodded and took out a facial restoration elixir. She placed it in her mouth and gradually regained her true appearance under the nervous and expectant gaze of the plain-clothed woman. "It's really you, my child. You're finally back." The plain-clothed woman looked at Dong Qin, who had regained her true appearance, and her emotions poured out like a flood. She hugged Dong Qin in her arms and tears fell like rain. "Mother," Dong Qin cried bitterly as well. Although her father had met with misfortune, it was fortunate that her mother was still alive. The mother and daughter hugged each other for a long time, as if they were afraid that the other party would disappear before their eyes if they let go. A long while later, their emotions finally calmed down. "Qin, how did you escape? Do you know that we were worried to death? We all thought that you wouldn't be able to come back alive." The plain-clothed woman sized up her daughter and said with heartache, "Look at you, you're so haggard. You must have suffered a lot." "I didn't. It's you who suffered, mother." Dong Qin shook her head. "Sigh." The plain-clothed woman sighed and said hesitantly, "Although I don't want to tell you, but, mother, you don't have to say it. I know everything." Dong Qin nodded. "You know everything?" The plain-clothed woman was startled. "Yes. Not only did I know that father died, but I also know that he became the scapegoat for Dong Qingyuan and the others. He didn't deserve to die. Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, the 9 great commanders, and the emperor deserved to die." Dong Qin clenched her fists and her eyes were filled with murderous intent. "Don't talk nonsense. If the emperor knows about this, our entire family will be finished." The plain-clothed woman's expression changed. However, she could not help but heave a sigh of relief when she remembered that they were in her spatial divine item. "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this." Dong Qin comforted her. "Qin, you've become more sensible than before." The plain-clothed woman's face was filled with relief as she asked, "How did you know? How did you escape?" This, Dong Qin hesitated with a difficult expression. "If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. It's fine as long as you come back alive." Come, let's go home. Your grandfather and grandmother are looking forward to your return every day. The plain-clothed woman smiled. I can't go back now. Dong Qin shook her head. Why? The plain-clothed woman was puzzled. Because everyone knows that I've become Qin Feiyang's captive. If I show myself now, everyone will definitely question and suspect me. They might even wonder if I've reached an agreement with Qin Feiyang. Dong Qin said in a deep voice. Then, have you reached an agreement with Qin Feiyang? The plain-clothed woman was surprised when she heard this. Dong Qin pondered for a while before looking up at her mother. If I say yes, will you be angry? The plain-clothed woman hesitated for a moment before shaking her head. No, because I know that even if you've reached an agreement with him, it's for survival. Thank you, mother. Please don't worry. No matter what decision I make, it's for the good of our family. Dong Qin said. I believe you. The plain-clothed woman nodded. Dong Qin was touched. No matter what, the people she trusted and cared about her the most were definitely her family members. All of a sudden, a trace of suspicion crept into Dong Qin's eyes as she asked, Mother, where did you come from earlier? Sigh. The plain-clothed woman sighed deeply and said in melancholy, Ever since your father died, our family has been cursed and our status has plummeted. If this goes on, we'll be destroyed sooner or later. Therefore, I discussed with a group of elders to see if we can find someone to help us. Who did you look for? Dong Qin frowned. The 10 main lineal families. Because only the 10 main lineal families can help us. As for the other main lineal families, they're not even as strong as us. They're useless to us. To put it bluntly, we went to look for a backer. The plain-clothed woman sighed. What was the outcome? Dong Qin asked. If there was a good outcome, I wouldn't be so worried. We usually give the 10 main lineal families a lot of offerings, but at the critical moment, no one is willing to help us. In fact, they won't even let me in. They even humiliated me in all sorts of ways. The plain-clothed woman said angrily, clearly suffering a lot when she asked for help. Mother, you're too naive. Which of the 10 main lineal families isn't a hypocrite? They're one thing on the surface and another behind our backs. Furthermore, they have an extremely good relationship with Dong Qingyuan and the 9 commanders. Why would they help us? Dong Qin sneered. She had seen enough of these hypocritical faces. Chapter 4476. Of course I know this, but there's nothing I can do about it. But it's fine now. You're back. My child, do you know? You're the backbone of our family now. The plain-clothed woman looked at Dong Qin with relief. Mother. Dong Qin murmured and shook her head. But I can't act without any worries now. The plain-clothed woman's expression froze. To prevent her mother from being disappointed, Dong Qin hurriedly said, But don't worry. I've already thought of a way and told them. What way? The plain-clothed woman couldn't help but feel refreshed. Go find Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian. Dong Qin said. What? Find them? Don't you know that they're the ones who killed your father? The plain-clothed woman was furious. Mother. They're not the ones who killed father. It's Dong Hanzong, Dong Qingyuan, and the 9 commanders who killed father. They're just trying to protect themselves. You can't force this hatred onto them. Because they're the real victims. It's just that they're smarter and saw through this scheme. Dong Qin said. The plain-clothed woman was speechless. Indeed. Both of them were victims. If they hadn't seen through this scheme, they would probably have died an unnatural death. Dong Qin sighed. So mother, we have to be reasonable. We can't be sinister, cunning, and shameless like Dong Qingyuan and the others. Even if you're right, will they help us? After all, your father was also a participant. I'm afraid they only have hatred for us in their hearts. The plain-clothed woman hesitated. Don't worry. They'll agree to help us. But the prerequisite is that the experts of our family's will of the heavens have to enter the Death God army and become members of the 10th team. Dong Qin said. Enter the 10th team. In that case, won't everyone be under Dong Qingyuan's nose? Won't our family be in more danger then? The plain-clothed woman's face was filled with worry. Dong Qingyuan was the commander of the entire Death God army. Even so, Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian aren't kind people. Will they give Dong Qingyuan this chance? I'm afraid that his orders won't work in front of Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yunfeng. Dong Qin sneered. That's true. The plain-clothed woman nodded. These two brothers had dared to kill Dong Qingyuan in broad daylight, not to mention a mere order. He probably did not take Dong Qingyuan seriously at all. In other words, although the 10th team was still a part of the Death God army, it was no longer under Dong Qingyuan's control. The real leaders of the 10th squad were Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian. How can you be so sure that they will help us? Could it be that you contacted them in advance? The woman was curious. It's a secret for now. Dong Qin smiled mysteriously. You lass, the plain-clothed woman shook her head and laughed. She nodded and said, all right, I'll listen to you. I'll send someone to the Imperial Capital Mountain to look for them. No, I'll go personally. Yes. Only by going personally can I show my sincerity. Dong Qin nodded. What are you going to do next? Are you prepared to wander outside forever? The plain-clothed woman couldn't bear it. She was such a good girl, but in the end, she was ruined in the hands of that bastard Dong Hanzong. Every time she thought of this, she obviously blamed herself deeply in her heart. If she had been more ruthless back then and forcefully separated the two of them, then her daughter would not have suffered so much now. A debt of blood must be paid in blood. I have more important things to do. Killing intent flashed in Dong Qin's eyes. The plain-clothed woman's expression changed when she heard this. She hurriedly said, Qiner, don't do anything stupid. With your strength, you can defeat the 9 commanders and even the current Dong Qingyuan, but you can't defeat Dong Hanzong because he is too strong. The strength of the 9 commanders was only stronger than the members of the Death God army. Compared to Dong Qin, they were still a lot weaker. After all, Dong Qin could control 2 heavenly Tao wills after activating the clear heaven domain. As for Dong Qingyuan, now that he had lost his pinnacle sovereign divine weapon and his origin source had been confiscated by the emperor, he was no match for Dong Qin. Only Dong Hanzong. He, who controlled the universe domain, could mercilessly suppress Dong Qin. Don't worry. I haven't been blinded by hatred and won't do anything beyond my ability. Dong Qin comforted her. That's good. The plain-clothed woman heaved a sigh of relief. It wasn't easy to see her daughter come back alive. She didn't want to lose her daughter again. Then let's leave it at that for now. Hurry and find brother Lu Yunfeng. Be polite. Dong Qin took out an illusory form pill and changed her appearance again before parting ways with the plain-clothed woman. Imperial Capital Mountain. This wasn't just where the Imperial Palace was located. It was also where the Death God Army's base was located. Now, as the commander and vice-commander of the 10th team, the inner demons lived on Imperial Capital Mountain. The undulating mountains and rivers of Imperial Capital Mountain were majestic and magnificent. Between the mountains, the vegetation was green and dense. Countless auspicious beasts were galloping and soaring in the mountain streams. At the peak of each giant mountain, ancient palaces and towers were faintly discernible in the clouds. It was like a celestial palace. The entire imperial capital mountain was enveloped in a barrier. There was only one entrance, and there was an expert guarding it. The plain-clothed woman came to Imperial Capital Mountain and looked at the entrance. There was a stone tablet that was 100 feet tall. The words, Imperial Capital Mountain, were written with iron hooks and silver, emitting a threatening aura that made people feel intimidated. Below the stone tablet sat a black-haired old man. This person was the guard of Imperial Capital Mountain. He was extremely powerful, controlled the will of the heavenly Tao, and had a sovereign divine weapon. Whoosh! Although Dong Qin said it in a solemn manner, the plain-clothed woman was still a little nervous when she arrived at Imperial Capital Mountain. Would Lu Yunfeng and Dong Qin really help her? Taking a deep breath, she walked to the entrance and looked at the black-haired old man. She bowed and said, "I am Dong Yulan, the wife of Dong Cha. I request to see the commander of the 10th team, Lu Yunfeng. I hope you can make an exception." Dong Yulan, the black-haired old man, opened his eyes and looked at Dong Yulan. A light flashed in his eyes as he said lightly, "If you want to see Lu Yunfeng, you have to contact him first. I can only let you enter Imperial Capital Mountain after getting his consent." Dong Yulan suddenly looked troubled. She didn't even establish a contract with Lu Yunfeng. How could she contact him? "Then I'll have to trouble you to inform him." Dong Yulan said. "What do you think this place is, and who do you think I am? To run errands for you?" A cold light flashed in the black-robed old man's eyes. Dong Yulan's expression froze. She didn't expect the guard of Imperial Capital Mountain to be so cold. What should she do? She even said that she would find Lu Yunfeng and Dong Qin for help, but now she couldn't even see them. Suddenly, Dong Yulan gritted her teeth and took out a divine weapon. This was a low-level sovereign divine weapon. She offered it to the black-robed old man with both hands and bowed. "I hope you can help me." The black-robed old man looked at the divine weapon in her hand and a smile finally appeared on his face. He took the divine weapon without hesitation and stood up. "You can wait here." "Yes." Dong Yulan bowed and replied. Although she lost a divine weapon, as long as she could see Lu Yunfeng and Dong Qin, it was worth it. Speaking of which, it was a little ridiculous. In the past, these two brothers lowered their status and personally went to Flying Dragon City to look for them, but they still didn't want to see them. But now, just to see the two of them, she had to use a sovereign divine weapon as the price. Wasn't this just looking for trouble for herself? It was really like the saying, "If you knew this day would come, why did you do it in the first place?" Not long after the black-haired old man left, he returned. "Lord," Dong Yulan looked at the old man expectantly. "I'm sorry, they said they're not free right now and won't see anyone." The black-haired old man said indifferently. "What?" Dong Yulan's expression changed. Didn't her daughter already make arrangements? Why didn't they see her now? To be honest, I don't even know. Why are you still looking for them? Your man, Dong Cha, instigated Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 commanders to plot against them. With such a deep hatred, how could they still see you? Don't come and ask for a rebuff." The black-robed old man sneered. Dong Yulan's face turned pale. She lost a sovereign divine weapon and still couldn't see the two of them. She definitely couldn't find this person to ask for the sovereign divine weapon now. Go. Don't be an eyesore here." The black-robed old man waved his hand. Dong Yulan suppressed her anger and unwillingly turned around and left. A moment later, she stood in the spatial divine item with the divine voice stone in her hand and looked at the projection of her daughter, Dong Qin. "What? Lu Yunfeng and the others won't see you?" Dong Qin raised her eyebrows. "Yes. Dong Yulan nodded, looking extremely disappointed. Impossible. This is what we agreed on in advance. There must be something wrong with this. Go to the Imperial Capital Mountain again. This time, they will come out personally to see you. Dong Qin said. Are you sure? Dong Yulan looked at her suspiciously. Would I lie to you? Go ahead. After saying that, Dong Qin turned off the divine voice stone and sent a message to Qin Feiyang again. Dong Yulan put away the divine voice stone and hesitated for a while. She couldn't help but make up her mind. Since she had already embarrassed herself, she didn't mind embarrassing herself again. After coming out of the spatial divine item, she immediately returned to the Imperial Capital Mountain. Why are you still here? The black-haired old man saw Dong Yulan coming back and immediately said angrily. Dong Yulan didn't say anything. Whoosh! The black-haired old man was about to get angry, but at this moment, accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, several figures flew out of the Imperial Capital Mountain. They were Dong Hanzong, Dong Yuerong, Dong Kuan, and Dong Qian. Looking at Dong Yulan standing outside, Dong Hanzong and the other three were stunned. What's going on? Why is she still standing here? Why are they here? Dong Yulan looked at the four people and couldn't help but panic. The black-haired old man glanced at Dong Hanzong and the other three and said through voice transmission, she had already left, but I don't know why she came back. It seems that she's a little unwilling to give up. Dong Hanzong laughed secretly and asked, Lu Yunfeng, Lu Yuntian, you haven't heard anything, right? Don't worry about that. They don't know anything now. The black-haired old man laughed secretly. Obviously. The black-haired old man didn't inform the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Not only did he not inform the inner demons, but he also informed Dong Qingyuan and the others. In other words, this black-haired old man had been bought over by Dong Qingyuan and the others. Chapter 44-77. It's good that they don't know. Dong Hanzong sneered secretly. Dong Yulan came to the Imperial Capital Mountain to look for the two brothers. It was obvious that she was here to seek protection. As the people who killed Dong Cha, how could they allow such a thing to happen? Whether it was the top 10 families or the black-haired old man, they had already told them in advance. In other words, they would not give Dong Yulan any chance to turn the tables. Dong Hanzong walked out of the Imperial Capital Mountain and landed in front of Dong Yulan. He bowed and said, Auntie, may I know why you came to the Imperial Capital Mountain? Why don't you tell me? Maybe I can help. Looking at this hypocritical face, Dong Yulan was really disgusted to the extreme. However, she did not dare to do anything. She could only endure it. Dong Yulan, we all know that you are feeling very sad now, but it has already happened. There is no point in saying anything. You'd better go back and mourn for Dong Cha. No. It's better that we send you back. It's a long journey. If something happens on the way, it will be another tragedy. Dong Yuerong and the other two also walked out and smiled at Dong Yulan. However, there was murderous intent hidden in their smiles. Although Dong Yulan could not feel the murderous intent of the three of them, there was an inexplicable uneasiness in her heart. Her rationality told her that she must not let the four of them escort her back. She quickly bowed and said, there is no need to trouble the three commanders. I can go back by myself. It's no trouble, no trouble. The three of them waved their hands and laughed. What should I do? Dong Yulan was flustered. It was obvious that they were up to no good. Just as Dong Yulan was at a loss, two more figures stepped on the air and came over. How could we trouble the three commanders to escort a guest that we invited? That arrogant, domineering, and unbelievable laughter also rolled over. Oh no! Dong Hanzong and the other three were shocked. The black-haired old man's expression changed drastically on the spot. How did the two of them get the news? Dong Yulan was ecstatic. Her daughter did not lie to her. The two of them really came to rescue her in person. That's right. These two were the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. After Dong Qin sent a message to Qin Feiyang immediately notified the inner demons. Only then did the inner demons know that Dong Yulan had arrived at Emperor Capital Mountain. Whoosh! Very soon. The two of them arrived above the stone tablet. The inner demons glanced at Dong Yulan, then glanced at Dong Hanzong and the other three. Then, they looked at the black-haired old man and laughed cruelly. I really didn't expect that someone would dare to cause trouble right under our noses. The black-haired old man's eyes trembled. His face turned ghastly pale. The reason for that was because the two of them had personally arrived. This meant that what he had done before had been exposed. Kneel. The eyes of the inner demons suddenly turned cold. A monstrous murderous aura erupted and rushed toward the black-haired old man like a torrent. The black-haired old man's body shook, and he quickly looked at Dong Hanzong and the three great commanders. Is it useful to look at them? Do they still dare to help you? The inner demons' face was full of disdain. They simply treated Dong Hanzong and the three great commanders as air. They said coldly, I told you to kneel, didn't you hear me? The monstrous murderous aura instantly drowned the black-haired old man. The black-haired old man trembled on the spot and knelt on the ground weakly. Indeed domineering. Dong Yulan murmured. Was this Lu Yuntian's aura? Even such a strong person with the will of heaven did not dare to act rashly in front of him. Then, she looked at Dong Hanzong and the three great commanders. Their faces were extremely ugly. However, they did not dare to act up. One person was able to intimidate everyone. This made Dong Yulan suddenly see hope. The inner demons landed in front of the black-haired old man step by step and laughed cruelly. I admire your courage. Even now, you still dare to go against us. Don't tell me that you think Dong Qingyuan, Dong Hanzong, and the 9 great commanders can protect you. I'm sorry, I was confused for a moment and did such a stupid thing. Lu Yuntian. No, Lord Lu, please give me a way out and let me live. The black-haired old man was terrified. His body trembled. He did not expect that the matter would be exposed. These two brothers had even dared to kill Dong Qingyuan. Wasn't offending them the same as courting death? Even if Lu Yuntian killed him here, the emperor would not say anything. Because this was what he asked for. If you want me to let you go, sure. What did you take before, now spit it out double for me. The inner demon said. Okay. The black-haired old man nodded and quickly took out the sovereign divine weapon that Dong Yulan gave him. I said double for you. The inner demon's eyes were cold. The black-haired old man's body stiffened and hurriedly said, but the sovereign divine weapon on me was given to me by the emperor. If I take it out, the emperor will punish me. What does it have to do with me? I only want the result now. The inner demon said. The black-haired old man was in despair. However, Dong Hanzong and the 3 great commanders didn't lend him a helping hand since they were in cahoots with each other. In the end, under the inner demon's coercion, he could only obediently take out a sovereign divine weapon and give it to the inner demons. The inner demons did not accept it. With a wave of his hand, 2 sovereign divine weapons fell in front of Dong Yulan. These are for me. Dong Yulan looked at the inner demons in disbelief. You don't want them? The inner demons laughed. Yes. Thank you, sir. Dong Yulan was very grateful. She did not expect that not only would she get back the sovereign divine weapon that she had given away, but she would also get another one. Suddenly, the inner demons raised his arm and grabbed the black-haired old man's head. His 5 fingers exerted force, and the old man's head exploded on the spot. The old man's spirit escaped in fear. This is just a lesson. If you dare to do this again, it won't be so simple. Scram! The inner demon said. Hearing this, the black-haired old man's spirit frantically fled as if he had been granted amnesty. Amazing! Dong Yulan's heart was in turmoil. This was Lu Yuntian. He was simply tyrannical to the point that it was shocking. Trash, like you actually dare to be so rash? The inner demon's face was full of contempt. Then, his gaze fell on Dong Qian and the other 2. He joked, "Didn't you say that you would escort the guest we invited? It just so happens that we have time now. Why don't we escort her together? We can have a good chat on the way." The 3's pupils contracted. Dong Qian said guiltily, "Sorry, we don't have time now." After saying that, they wanted to leave. The inner demons took a step in front of the entrance, blocking the 3's way. He laughed and said, "It doesn't matter if you don't have time. What matters is that we have time. What do you want?" The 3's expressions were full of vigilance. "Nothing. I just want to have a good chat with you." The inner demons laughed. "No time." The 3's faces were cold. "Chat? I'd be a fool if I believed you. No time? Isn't this a bit too much? You have time to escort Dong Yulan, but you have no time to chat with us? Oh right. I almost forgot. Didn't the emperor ask you to face the wall and reflect on your mistakes for 3 years? Why are you still loitering outside? Don't tell me you don't even care about the emperor's order. No, I have to take you to the emperor to reason with him." The inner demons looked at the 3 with a playful expression. "Bastard, don't go too far." The 3's expressions changed. Although everyone knew in their hearts that the emperor wanted them to face the wall and reflect on their mistakes, it was nothing more than a formality. However, if these 2 brothers insisted on being serious, the emperor would really punish them for the sake of the emperor's face and dignity. Go too far? Huh, who's the one going too far? Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? A bunch of trash. You want me to let you go, right? Fine, crawl into the imperial capital mountain on your knees. The inner demon sneered. What did you say? You want us to crawl into the imperial capital mountain on our knees? The 3's faces were filled with disbelief. Was this person talking in his sleep? They were the commanders of the Death God army. In terms of status, they were on equal footing. What right did he have to make them crawl in on their knees? Think carefully. The emperor has already indulged you once. If he finds out that you colluded with the guards here to murder Dong Yulan, what will the consequences be? The inner demon sneered. Dong Kun said angrily, if you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. You said that we wanted to murder Dong Yulan, where's the evidence? Show us the evidence if you dare. Isn't that damned old man the best witness? Why don't we go find him and bring him to the palace to meet the emperor? The inner demon sneered. The 3's eyes trembled. The inner demons smiled faintly. Come with us to meet the emperor or crawl into the imperial capital mountain on your knees. Choose for yourselves. The 3's bodies trembled. They were about to go crazy. Why did they always bump into these 2 no matter where they were? The most important thing was that these 2 always had something on them. Dong Hanzong raised his eyebrows and said in a low voice, "What's in it for you? Don't forget that Dong Cha is the one who harmed you. There's no other way. Our 10th team is short of people now. And Dong Yulan promised us that all the experts of the will of heaven in her clan would join our 10th team. Besides, it's not her family's fault. Dong Cha was wrong, but Dong Yulan and the others weren't. We still have to be people with a conscience, right? The inner demons looked at Dong Hanzong with eyes full of mockery. He didn't deliberately target Dong Hanzong. Because with Dong Hanzong's strength and talent, even if he had made a big mistake, as long as he didn't betray the divine kingdom or the central dynasty, the emperor would be lenient. So targeting him didn't mean much. Hearing this, Dong Hanzong suppressed the anger in his heart and left Dong Yuerong and the others behind. He stepped into the imperial capital mountain without looking back and disappeared. That little bastard, how dare he leave us alone? The three's anger reached its peak. Isn't that normal? Do you think Dong Hanzong really respects you? No. In his eyes, not to mention trash like you, I'm afraid that even Dong Qingyuan is only a chess piece in his hands. The inner demons mocked. What a bunch of naive people. How could someone as ambitious as Dong Hanzong treat others with sincerity? The three's hands clenched. Hurry up. Don't make me do it. Otherwise, it won't be as simple as crawling in. The inner demon's eyes flashed coldly. Obviously, they had lost their patience. At the same time, Lu Jiajin's hand, which was hidden in his sleeve, was holding a transmission stone. There was a faint smile on his face. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.